What's up, buddy?
How are you, man?
Good. How you doing? You have a good Christmas?
It was lovely. Much needed break. How about yourself?
Yeah, it was low key. I didn't do a whole lot. I I had my kid's birthday the week before, so my mom was
Yeah.
out here for that, dealing with that.
Nice.
Cool.
You bulking at the moment, or what's your current thing?
Uh,
You looking
it's
bigger.
just I fluctuate. I got really skinny for a couple. Let me see what I hooked up on. I got skinny for a couple of weeks. And so I started eating. I do like the opposite of the girls, right? Where it's like I feel like, oh no, I gotta really just throw a bunch of shit down my throat and
Yeah,
put
yeah,
on
yeah,
some
yeah.
weight. And so I decided I'm gonna go ahead and compete in the summertime. So I'm kind of starting the
You
process
should.
of bulking, which for me it's not. I can't really bulk. I wish I could do the whole like bulk and eat as much as you can, lose your abs, but my digestion just doesn't let me go that far.
So have you thought about the plan? So if you're going to compete in the summer, how long's the prep? How long are you going to bulk for? Like, have you? Because that's what I think. Like, I start to plan it out.
Yeah, it's like 6 months, so I'll probably
Mm.
do. Like again, usually I don't get super heavy to where I got to do much of a cut down, so I can bulk for
Yeah.
probably like half of that, and then just diet down for probably like 12 to 14 weeks. I mean, when I kind of you just kind of start cleaning up the bulk at the end, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just as soon as you just cut out all the bullshit, like for me, like that's like 10 pounds of water, and just like usually I
Yeah.
only lose 20 pounds during the prep.
Wow. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, I would like to put on the, I did get some growth hormone finally. I haven't been on growth in years, and
Okay.
and the one that I was on was fake. The one year I actually took real growth, like, and was on my shit in my off season. I put on 18 pounds on stage. So
Holy shit.
I
Does
know.
that
I
make
mean,
a big difference then?
yeah. I mean, also that was like the year I dialed everything in. You know what I mean? It's like
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
not just throwing that on there, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Because I suppose if you're spending that much on that, then you're going to dial everything else in, and yeah, yeah, makes sense.
yeah. That's whenever I had to switch from classic to the open.
Nice, nice. The
What's going on with
secrets.
you guys? Got anything for New Year's?
New Year's just been chilling out. The big thing at the moment is closed on the house about a couple of weeks ago. We should get the keys on 12th of January, but I'm really looking forward to it. We need a new place, so it's a
Yeah.
much bigger property. Bit of land on it, but the bit that I'm really excited about is I get my office as a summer house just out back. So it's being built at the moment. The guy who owns the house is also a builder, and his son is going to finish it off. So it's a big old it's a big old room essentially, and split into three areas where it's going to
It's
be my office, recording studio, kitchen area, and that's all in this summer house. It's going to be awesome. So I'm really looking forward.
you want to do any kind of a gym there?
I've got a home gym,
Oh
but I'm going to sell it. So
yeah.
in my current garage, I just don't use it. I've had it since 2007. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So when I did, yeah, 2007, 2014, I used it right the way through. And then I just kept it. But I've honestly, Jay, I've not even touched it. So I thought I'm just going to sell it. I don't want to drag it
Yeah, I
to the
don't
new
want to
house.
move it if you're not going to use it. That's a bitch.
Nah, it's like 300 kilos of weights. So I think I'll just sell it off. But yeah, that's what we're excited about at the moment. Just to get that all sorted. And obviously it's a stress of moving, but it's fine.
Yeah.
We think this will be kind of like our forever home now. So not going to move anytime soon. So it should be
No.
good.
Guys,
What's
Yeah.
up, buddy? How's it going?
I'm good, thank you. Merry Christmas to all.
Yeah, yeah, you too. Yeah, I saw Basement
Merry
jumped
Christmas.
on. Congratulations, man. I talked to you online, but just want to tell you congrats again on getting the pro card, dude.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And nice to meet you, FaZe.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Hersovyac. Is it Hersovyac? Is there a shorter name or?
Oh, you
Herso?
can say so. Yeah,
Okay,
so
because
it's
that's what I
fine.
was going with. I was like, I don't have, I have my Mexican daughters and stuff. They roll their R's and like
Right.
I have the whitest English, like the white Texan American English. So I'm like, I'm gonna go with Herso.
No problem.
That sounds right. Are
Herso, right.
you still talking about coming out here for the World Cup?
Yeah, next year.
Nice. Fuck yeah.
I'll,
What did
I'll
you?
see if it's possible, but normally
Yeah.
everything should
Well,
be fine. It's just that I will have to do a bit of paperwork, I guess. But yeah.
but you're. I mean, I think Trump. I think you're the kind that Trump wants in. You're fine. I don't think it'll be hard for you. Hopefully.
Oh, you know what? It's been a few times now that some French people were refused just for traveling, like holidays. So
Yeah.
I'm not too sure about that actually.
I wonder what that is. Yeah, I mean, I don't have any fucking clue what's going on over here, guys. Like, are
Oh
you are
yeah,
you
We're, we're tightening up in the UK as well. So I think UK seems to follow the US quite a lot with immigration. And I have heard people having issues with even holiday visas, never
yeah.
mind work visas, So this is the rumor.
Yeah,
Who
that's
knows?
that's that's bullshit.
Hello.
What's up, buddy?
Landon,
What's going on, boys?
You got
Merry
some
Christmas.
dark in there, man.
It's a little dark. Yeah, my
You're in the
lighting
well, you're in the
situation
basement, right?
quite
So what's
ideal.
it 9 for you? It's 6 for me. This is my earliest operating time. When me and we did the podcast with Solomon, right? Me and Jeff, and he was up at
Mm.
6 a.m. It was rare for him to see him up at that time.
Brutal.
This will be 10. This is a little bit more for him. We'll wait a couple minutes. I'll text him real quick. How was your Christmas basement?
It was good. Got to hang out with my nieces a little bit, and they're always hilarious. So I was pranking them a little bit with some fake phone calls. They think that's pretty funny. So I'll like take out my phone and pretend I'm talking to their teacher about something they did, and they get a kick out of it. So it's fun. What
How
about
old
you
are
guys?
they?
They're 3 and 6.
Oh yeah, those are three. The three is such a fun age. My daughter's 2 right now, and my son's 7. So it's like that 3 to 4.
Right.
That's you said you want kids, right?
Yeah,
Or no?
definitely.
You
Yeah.
do. Okay,
Yeah.
because I know GVS doesn't. Faz, you're not trying. I mean, you didn't want kids, right? You didn't have any plan for them.
No, no. We decided very early on we weren't too fussed. So no, not for us. Every time I go away on holiday, I went away just earlier in October. Airplanes and airports just remind me that I just don't want kids. They're so
Yeah, it'll like show you the
yeah, it's a
worst. That's pretty
constant
hard.
reminder, like every 3 months. Right.
Text GVS real quick. I like the RPG thing I made of you guys. That was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing was sick.
I redid another one. I don't know if it'll be good. I tried to be like thoughtful with what I was doing. I don't know if I'll use it as a thumbnail, but I made Jeff the barbarian, like berserker, just kind of how he kind of goes after everything. And then I had Faz. I had you as a wizard, just because I think that's one of your programs, right? I had you as the
Right. Yeah,
mage,
yeah.
and I was
Yeah.
I was like the clerk, kind of as like the healer more. I do a lot of the rehab stuff, and then I didn't know what to do for YouTube, but I wanted an archer. So I think basement you're the archer, and Herso you're the assassin with like the dual wielding blades. I don't know if y'all are into RPG at all, or if that's just me and Jeff, but I just actually put.
What?
I have no
How
concerns
did
here.
that do? You had the thumbnail for the AI thumbnail on your previous video. How did that do? How did that perform?
I mean that was good. I don't know how much of that was the just the video topic and the kind of commentary that generates, when you just take that kind of
Mm.
shit. But yeah, I mean, it did really good. I did have one person like, "Oh no, it's such an AI thumbnail," but most people liked it a lot. I thought it was
Sorry,
pretty
Landon,
cool.
what did you say?
Cool.
Oh, interesting.
Well, I guess we can go ahead and we can get started on some stuff. I don't know what's up, Jeb. I just texted him. Hopefully, hear from him in a sec. I'm sure he'll pop on. Let me pull up my shit. Cool. Yeah, I was just talking to him yesterday. I'm sure he's hopping on in a second, but we'll go ahead and get started. Cool. Nice. Awesome. Okay, so we've got my guys with me today. I'm sure most of you guys know everybody. Everybody's been on here at least once. Most people have been on here multiple times. We got Fazlifts representing the UK. And then we got our guy Harcel out in France. Hey, just curious, what's going on with your country, man? I've had a lot of people ask me about natural hypertrophy. Do you talk to him at all? And do you know what's going on with him? Is he kind of out of the
Uh,
scene?
it's been a while that he's not in France anymore. I know it's been a couple of months we did not speak, so I literally have no idea.
Okay, yeah. I mean, a lot of people have been asking about him. He was kind of almost out of the scene when I first got on, so I never really got into a
Mm.
lot of stuff. But he seemed really cool, philosophical approach. Hopefully, he's doing good. Comes back around if he wants to. Then we got my man Basement representing the Northeast. How's it going, brother?
What's up, Jonathan? Thanks for having us.
Of course. And then GVS should be hopping on. We'll see what's going on with him, but we'll go ahead and get started, and he can play catch up. So, awesome. Year-end wrap up. We're about to wrap up 2025. It's been a big year in the fitness industry and social media world and all that good stuff. So there's always a lot of like negative stuff to talk about, but I figured we would start off with some positive stuff, and then we'll just start with some year-end trend stuff and like what we're thinking about for 2026, and we'll just get into some general stuff. So feel free to kind of jump in. We'll kind of keep it organized, but if you've got like a good point or something, just don't worry about it. Just feel free to jump in. Let's make it fluid. So, first topic, let's go with this one. So, what is a trend from 2025 that surprised you like in a good way that made you happy? And I guess we can start with age with this one. Let's go with you, Faz. Age over beauty.
Okay. So let's say I think for me, the variety of opinions, I always like that. So whether I agree with someone or not, I like having a broad range of opinions. So a guy that I've discussed on my channel a couple of times, Chris Beardsley, I like him, you know. I don't necessarily like him for the fact that I like all his information. I think I disagree with quite a lot of it, but I like the fact that you've got somebody there with a completely different viewpoint to a lot of what the evidence-based guys are pointing out. Same with you, Jonathan. You know, I love hearing about your stuff because it adds something new to the table. So for me, what I like is partly the continued dismantling of evidence-based fitness, as well as the exaggerated claims, the misinformation, and all that kind of stuff. I think that's been great to see, not because of the downfall, but just because we're getting a lot of different opinions. I think that's great for people. So potentially it can be a little bit confusing, but I think it's nice to have a broad range of voices, each with a good community that comes with them talking about what specifically they are. So I like that. And again, I'm not saying I agree with all what Chris says. I just like the fact that we have differences of opinions and a broad range of things because then people can make up their own minds. I'm always big on that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that, sometimes it get a little volatile, right, with some of the factions, but I do think that there is a good amount of like good talks going on where it's not all super volatile, and especially a lot of, I mean, honestly, it's more the science-based kind of nerds that are like going about things like the nice way. They're kind of easing like kind of their viewpoints a little bit. I see a lot of the guys kind of backtrack a few things, not get so dogmatic. So yeah, I agree. I think that's a really good thing. What about you, Herso? Is there anything that has kind of surprised you and made you happy that's a trend that you saw this year?
It's almost the same as phase, really. It's like this dichotomy between these optimized, evidence-based things for each person really pushing the pendulum as far as they could in that direction. There was at least always one guy to say, you know what, I just want to enjoy lifting. And I do
Mm.
not care if it's the best method, the fastest method, the most efficient, quick way. I just like what I'm doing. It feels nice, so I will keep doing it. And I do not care about the minute specific details, not because it's irrelevant or useless, but just I don't care. And so it was really nice to have much more variety and having more people be more conscious about it. It's that there is just more way to skin a cat, basically. You do not necessarily have to train like your neighbor if your goal are not the same, or just if because you do not like specific way of training. That's why there is also so much talk about the HIIT thing. Some people just dislike to do volumes. They like to push hard. Some people, they just like to do a shit ton of volume, have the thickest pump as possible. Both method will work, down the line when it's been 10 years plus your training, if specific components are in your training, like progressive overload, for example, in some way, you're going to progress. So it's really good now to see that, you have all these choices and all these ways, and you can just pick one. And if you get bored or you just want to switch, you can pick another one. But you're not forced in any regard to do one, and that's it. And I think it's good. It's very good because when I start out back in 2012, it was one method, and if you do not do it, you're a pussy and you're a fag. And if you're using this machine, you're gay. And if you're using this type of equipment, you're badass. And it's like, what if this badass equipment is hurting me, and I feel good on that one. And now there is less of this black and white statement. It's more like, I'm just going to do this because I enjoy it, and maybe in a few months I'll do that one. So that's actually good, I think, for the whole fitness community.
Yeah, I mean, people are going to be enjoying the workouts more. What do you guys think has contributed to this change or this trend?
Influencers.
You think so? I
Yeah,
mean, who would you credit to having a positive influence on this?
GVS, and
Yeah.
that's unfortunate that he's not here. But I think GVS really had a shit ton of
He just
influence.
texted me. He'll be on in just a second. But yeah, I think GVS has inspired so many natties,
Yeah,
honestly.
Alex,
Like,
Alex,
well,
Alex Leonidas too. I'm pretty sure he did a lot of work for that. Phase as well. I mean, if you just check, forums like Reddit, for example, I do not go often on Reddit. I went because people said that I was talked about, for being a fake Nazi. So I just wanted to check to have a laugh. But I was also quoted in like good source information, but each and every single time it was Phase, GVS, Alex Leonidas, and also Basement. So it's like you do not necessarily see the impact that you have, especially when you're doing long form content like YouTube, but it spreads, especially on social media. Then there is also maybe smaller creator, definitely, and at their own scale, they are also helping, just having like variety in colors. I
You
hope
agree with
that
that,
is.
Baz?
Yeah, I think the issue that we've historically had since the advent of the internet and forums and information exchange is that things run in cycles because there's been large pushes and like Herso said, there's been one accepted way of doing things, which has been the meta for the entire internet because the internet was just a smaller place back then. So my concern is always that we're running into the next cycle, which is just going to be full of the next batch of new lifters who are going to get taken in by the BS. But if we have a broader internet, a broader range of options for people, then potentially there's going to be less of that because people can see a wider range of things. I mean, I remember just going back to the early 2000s, Westside Barbell had convinced CrossFit that low bar squat was the way to go for Olympic lifting. It was just a mad time, and, and so you had these metas which were coming about, which may not have made any sense. And we can joke about it now, but at the time people thought it was dead serious. I think now because we just have that broader range of voices, like Ursula was saying, you can take your pick, and you may have a preference. I have certain preferences, and I will say after next year is going to be 27 years of training, those preferences change too. What my body changes. I changed, my goals have changed. I've been, powerlifter, strongman, bodybuilder, and all that will necessitate different styles of training. My body's aged every 10 years, something changes. So it's just nice. I think that should hopefully allow people to be able to make up their minds a little better,
Nice.
not get sucked down a trap.
Yeah. What about you, Basement? What is a trend that surprises you in a good way for 2025?
Well, well, I'm glad I'm going last
Up,
because
buddy? Well,
depending on
GVS
the
will go last since he just popped up, but first topic.
second to last, second to last. So depending on
Oh, hold on,
the
hold on, hold on. You got the headphones. You didn't want to. I'm going to have it everybody, but you didn't want to do the blips of your face every 2 seconds.
That was all over
Yeah.
the comments.
Yeah, that's what we just
One guy
ran.
wanted a compilation of those clips. Just
It's like Fight Club, just one microsecond. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, Basement.
you're
Sorry.
good.
Yeah. Go
The,
ahead.
the headphones are welcome. So I guess it depends on the perspective of the listener, but I'd say one of the better things, in my opinion, to come out this year would be just the insanely high sense of authority with Mr. Mike and then Jeff Nippert actually coming into question at a certain point. So you can say whether that's like a net positive or a net negative, depends on the person, obviously. But I think just being able to see that channels that big and people that kind of uh, established can still be questioned for basically by the entire community. So it's it was cool to see that because I used to think they could kind of get away with whatever they wanted to say and lead the fitness industry in whatever direction they wanted to.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like too big to fail kind of thing, right? And yeah, I think that has a bigger impact, right? Because then it just makes everybody like realize, okay, like maybe I should go back and think about some of the things I already kind of accepted as a fact and rethink things a little bit. But yeah, and I think that's kind of goes along the same track, right? I mean, people not getting so dogmatic, science-based lifting kind of falling off slightly. So GVS, bro, thanks for joining us, man. Appreciate it. It's late for you, but this is probably better than the 6 o'clock you did on the other one, right? Do you have a preference? Would you rather go early or late?
I'd rather go later.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
Yeah,
without a doubt.
I'm
I,
better
I
earlier.
was I was I didn't realize how out of it I was until I watched it. Because I felt I mean it's tough because there were a whole bunch of people there. There was like 12 people or something, and just my personality in a big group, I'm not like the talkative
Yeah.
guy or like, I would say I probably have like, if there's 10 people talking, I probably could take up like 2% of the words just because I don't know, it's just my personality. And
Yeah, I
then it's
noticed
tough as
that.
well when you're online because you don't want to talk over anyone, you don't want to jump in and have that kind of situation.
And
So
there's
someone's
a little
like,
lag too, like the smallest lag that
yeah,
fucks us
exactly,
up.
like living in China as well. So I think it was like an hour until I actually said anything.
It was funny
But
because
I was
you were just sitting there so like stoic and quiet. Everyone wanted you to talk. Like I was trying not to talk too much just because I was like there's a lot of big influences there. I want to just kind of like ride it. But yeah, so many people were just being way too polite, so I ended up talking a little bit more than I thought I would. But yeah, it's funny. You definitely popped up in the comments more than anybody.
yeah, I mugged the screen time. I just didn't talk that much.
That's funny. So, our first question was, what is a trend that surprised you and made you happy this year?
Ooh. Um, let's see. A trend that made me happy. I've noticed a few more people are showing their actual training. Because it's difficult when you're in a workout to just film stuff and then put it out there. Like it can be a little bit distracting, but seeing the actual footage of people lifting and the actual lifts that they do, like I know Baseman has a lot of B-roll in his videos, like actual sets, whereas some of these other big channels, when they're filming a YouTube video, they're filming B-roll specifically for that. And it's maybe better for production quality, but I can tell that it's not a real set, and that doesn't make me happy. So seeing more people do that, I know Dr. Eric Helms has put out a whole bunch of stuff on Instagram as well. Just that is so useful. That is just seeing people in the moment in the set, how they actually perform is very, very useful. And I like that a lot. And I want to see more of that because there's a whole bunch of people who I know they know a lot about training, but I never see them lift. Like I've never seen them do a working set. And I think they're good sources of information in theory, but it would be nice to see more of them actually lifting, even if it's just an Instagram story or something. And so yeah, I like that trend and I want to see more of it.
What do you think that is? Why do you think some people don't show it? Do you think they're afraid of like getting criticized, or it's just not their thing,
I
or what?
mean, that I think that's a big part of it. Yeah, because there's always some critique. There's always something that you can find. It wasn't heavy enough, or this rep range, or why are you moving this way, that kind of stuff. And so putting yourself out there does open yourself up to criticism. Absolutely. And there isn't really a lot of plus in terms of like the financial side of things. Like, is someone going to go buy a product based on an Instagram story? Like, oh yeah, he really pushed that set. Let's let's support his work. That's not really how things work. And so there's very little upside in terms of how a lot of people think about being in the fitness industry. But it's something that yeah, I'd like to see more of because yeah, there's substantial downside, but a lot of the downside is from people who are being disingenuous about the set anyway. So it's like I don't know how much weight does their word really matter anyway.
Yeah, I had a kid fly out to see me, and he had some issues. Most people that come see me are a little bit fucked up, and I was on his Instagram, really popular kind of influencer kid. He's got a couple 100,000. Gymshark guy, and just nothing of lifting at all. And I was like, buddy, I was trying to like look at your form so I could like try to find some stuff. He goes, I can't put my shit up there. He goes, people will just, he's like, I know I don't lift like he looked great, but he's like, I know I'm kind of like, I don't lift that good. I don't want people to like make fun of me. He was like a 20-year-old
Yeah.
kid. And I was like, oh, I was like, I get it. Like, I mean, but yeah, so I mean, I do think that, especially now, and with like the way everything is going AI and all that, like authenticity is just going to be such a higher value now. So I think even if you aren't the proudest of your thing, like show it and show like how you receive feedback, how you maybe change things later, your thoughts, maybe your line of thinking. So yeah, I do think that there's some really cool raw training going on right now too. Like I like watching what's his name, Trail Bankston stuff that he's putting out there, moving really good weight with really good form. For me, I might not answer all these. I want to really get your guys' thoughts, but I'll jump on a few of them real quick. For me, I obviously I love the science-based lifting community falling apart because that's like at least to the biomechanics side, like that's fake, like not fake science, but it's partial science. It's not like the whole picture. But I'll say something a little different. I think that at least I noticed it this year was that there were a lot more bigger influencers actually stepping on stage, which I thought was pretty cool, right? We had like Sam Sulek who turned pro. The Trend twins are huge, and they had no reason to compete. They competed. I know I think there was a Natty guy, pretty really big influencer, did physique, and I think he won. You guys know who I'm talking about. And then like Eric Janicki turned pro. So we have all these kind of bigger influencers that are actually stepping on stage, which for the longest time that was kind of a critique. And it's not that I think you need to step on stage to be able to talk about body, but it just kind of it's kind of cool to see people actually going out there and putting themselves out there that way. Like Janicki, like he missed his pro card like so many times. He had no reason to go for it. Like he could have just stopped. It's not like he's gonna make more money. So I think that's pretty cool to see that.
Like there is
Yeah,
a legitimacy boost about actually going as far as you can, and in our discipline, it's actually going on stage.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm sure you appreciate that too. Maybe eventually one day GVS will be talking about him. on stage. Um, so let's go the opposite of this. Like I said, I want to start positive, but then let's get a little negative now. Well, let's talk about a trend that popped up that we really noticed in 2025 that we hope dies out in 26. I'm gonna keep it with you for now, Faz. I'll switch it up. Let's start with you.
So I think something I thought saw which had just exploded this last year was the use of AI for posts on Instagram or scripts on YouTube. And I think if you've been around that for any period of time, you can spot it so easily. And it's not just the M dashes, it's not this, but it's this. It's the bullet pointed lists with emojis. It's so obvious. And I think my prediction is over the course of this coming year, a lot of those people are going to lose a lot of faith with their audience because the general public will get more and more used to looking at what AI is and being able to identify it. Like I can now because I just have experience with working with ChatGPT. So I think over the course of the next year, we're going to see maybe more and more of that. And then the general public start to cotton on and instantly look at some posts and go, right, well, that's too much. I mean, I can just scroll down through my Instagram right now, and whether it's lifting or whether it's something else, you can just instantly spot if it's AI slop because it all looks the same because it's all trained on the same type of speech patterns. Now, there's nothing wrong with them, but it's all the same ones. So the impression that it gives to the viewer, or it should, I think, give to the viewer, is just that this content creator is lazy. They're not authentic. That's not their own words. It's not potentially not their own message either, because who knows what's behind the actual message. And I think we're going to see more of a repulsion against that type of content, and then more of a return to authentic media, similar to what we were saying earlier with the videos, seeing people lift. I think authenticity is a huge thing, and I really want to see more authenticity in people's posts on Instagram and scripts on YouTube and just talking like we are now. I think there's going to be a lot more value in this type of content where people are in real conversations. Yeah, we're obviously on different parts of the world, but we're conversing with each other in real ways. So that's my prediction anyway. I think we're like any technology, we'll look at the good parts, we'll take it too far, and hopefully we'll return into the middle. And that's my prediction. That's something which I have really disliked over the course of last year because I can see like posts from friends of mine who are, PTs, local PTs, and it's all just AI slop. And I just think to myself, does your audience recognize that? Does your audience maybe can they tell? Like on Instagram, you sound so eloquent, yet in person you sound like a Neanderthal. Like is there any connect there at all?
Well, especially if they changed, right? If they're just talking all normal in 24 and then they just got ChatGPT in 25 and like they have this
Yeah.
totally new linguistic vocabulary. You're like,
Yeah. And
bro.
every now and again they'll put up a post where it's something personal, like, oh, here's my daughter's basketball game, and it's completely different. So, and then the next post is back to it's not this, it's this. And yeah, I just think, I hope to see that die out. And I hope the general public are more aware and actually call it out. Like, hey, that's AI crap. Give us better than that, please.
What about you, Herso? We'll keep the same cycle this time.
Um, I'd say that this whole, I mean, the AI thing is like a part of what I'm going to say, but it's also really the science-based thing because at the start, just like you said, even for like the biomechanics, it is a good thing to do. It is a good thing to have, but it's not the whole cake. You have to keep digging and you have to personalize things. And you also have to apply this theory to make sure it's actually practicable. I made a video about it even last year, but this year it was even more. So now you have guys that are using a shit ton of supposedly scientific values and scientific studies and scientific principle, but the application is bad. So you have guys like Trell, for example, who is technically speaking science-based, but he's not appealing to that. Why? Because when you're training and that you're science-based, what you're doing is actually respecting the principle for hypertrophy for bodybuilding, and some of them are science-based. So technically speaking, us talking right now, we are all science-based because we have applied things that the science have baked to deliver result. Some of them were not, or we had to wait, but most of them were. But then some people take it way too far, way, way too far. And we see this year this too far aspect with guys that are using cuffs and bands and setup and stability things, and they are using bands for absolutely everything. They are not using their hands anymore. They are using like a D cup and stuff. This is not science. It's an improper application of a quite simple and easy concept to have. And this whole thing literally turned upside down a whole generation, pretty young at that, as far as I'm concerned, about the training and how you should approach it. And it's not about even fun anymore. It's about what does science says. So it's like a hive mind. They are outsourcing the thinking. It's not about what do I feel? How do I like? How do I apply this thing that is supposedly good? It's about, oh, what is this guy saying about that? What is influencer saying? And that's when I'm pretty agreeing with Phase here. That is where AI come. Because most of these guys are just copy pasting what ChatGPT said. And ChatGPT, I'm using it for work. It is a virtual assistant, nothing more. So when you're a boss or a CEO, are you going to outsource everything to your assistant? No, you can just get support from him or her to get faster, or to just have quite simple but boring tasks to get done faster, potentially better. But they are never going to have the same expertise and the same skills than you. They just can't. And you see, exactly like Faith said, that these guys are not thinking. They are just repeating what some AI said. And they are all saying the same things. They are all doing the same mistakes. They are all applying wrongly the same principle. And, there is just no way someone human said that. So this kind of natural selection, just like Faith said, I think is going to happen pretty soon enough. And people are already being kind of against AI because it's not authentic. And it's also the open door to mindless content where people are not doing it anymore with the intent to help, with the intent to actually demonstrate skills and share it, but just, copy pasting something, and they do not even verify what is said. So I think this is one of the worst things that happened this year, which opened the door for something quite good for 2026, as FaZe said.
Yeah, I think what somebody needs to do. I think there's enough footage now is to like supercut where they fuck up, right, and like the cuff slips off and they hit
Yep.
themselves with like the bar. I think we can get like a 5 minute supercut of that and just roll that. That'll do a lot of our work for us and like
Yeah. Or
steering
like
people clear.
the one hand peg fly, and they're grabbing the other, and they have a belt, and they're doing. It's like, what the hell are you doing?
What about you, Basement? What's a trend that you hope dies in the new year?
Oh, I can only pick one. No, I would say the biggest thing is just the almost a lack of dogma where we've gone too far in the other direction. As most of you guys know, back roughly in the 2010s is when I started lifting, around 2016 or so. And the fitness industry, the lifting community, whatever you want to call it, was almost too dogmatic. It's like you did these lifts and you didn't question why you did them. It was the deadlift, either conventional or sumo, no RDLs, you can't even do that, doesn't count. Competition bench press, low bar squat, or high bar squat if you're more quad dominant. But you did those, you did your accessories, and you didn't question it. And I've spent probably 3 or 4 years now talking about the issues with that. But one thing I've noticed where the fitness industry has shifted so far to the other side of that spectrum is that we're almost missing that culture that created. And obviously, there's a lot of negatives that come with it because you're very much funneled into one specific style of training. And when you try and deviate from that, you lose all faith in what you're doing. You get some FOMO because everyone's training this way. You're not going to make gains. It's this weird kind of psychological situation that I have a lot of firsthand experience with. But when you lose that almost magnet that pulls you towards a specific style of training, you lose any culture or any sense of self that goes with that training that you're doing. And you're seeing too much open-mindedness. People are substituting their almost religious like faith in a specific method with like a religious like faith in trying new things all the time and having too much variety. So that's why you see so many trends. Like you could say the Renaissance Periodization channel, you could say Jeff Nippard, any of these big YouTubers and big influencers. It's just a new trend every month. And that's not to say those channels don't provide any value, but it's almost like they're just trying to search for something new rather than mastering what's actually already in front of them. And I think part of the part of what I realized with the Road to 18-inch Arms series I did last year was, or maybe 2 years ago, depending on what year we released this podcast, part of what people liked about it was that it was almost just taking that same borderline dogma in a specific lift or a specific method and applying it to a more bodybuilding oriented context. So taking the concepts of a lengthened biased resistance profile, or at least something that's descending, opposing force with that stability, and training the actual target muscle rather than reverse engineering it and going based on the lift first. I think that is something that a lot of people really liked to see versus just the person that tries Bayesian curls and then does lengthened partials and then goes to like a barbell curl because it's basic. And then they go to like a supinated curl because the biceps don't, or a curl where you supinate as you go because the biceps don't get fully lengthened until you go into a more neutral or pronated grip at the bottom. And it's like we've almost put too much of our focus on these little details, but we're missing what actually drives you to almost master a certain method of training that allows you to focus on it rather than question everything all the time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you have such cool like perspectives, such a different kind of point of view than so many other people, like philosophical. Do you guys have anything to say to that? Any response at all?
I think it makes sense because this kind of goes back to the science-based thing where it says, oh, like 5 to 40 reps, that's the hypertrophy rep range. Like it doesn't really matter. Well, okay, it kind of does though, right? You can definitely mess that up. Or oh, we tried this exercise versus this exercise. Turns out they're the same. And it's like, yeah, but you can apply them in totally different ways. And so I think for a lot of studies, they find no difference. But that doesn't mean there's no difference. There is a difference when you delve into the details or the
Individually.
individualization.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're going to see in any study if you look into the data, oh, this guy got really good results, but
Yeah.
it if you look at the overall results, it said that he shouldn't be able to. And so, yeah, I think you need to believe in what you're doing. And I think a lot of people, when they're told, like, it doesn't really matter, the only thing that matters is volume, really. It's like, that's the main driver. And they go in and they just do a bunch of volume. They don't get great results. And then they kind of like blame themselves or they think everybody's on juice. And then they hop on juice and they still don't get results. And now they're like, what the hell is going on? And so they're you have to believe what you're doing, but it also has to be good enough that it'll work, right? If you believe in something and it's just not good, and I'm not like trying to, strawman basement bodybuilding's position at all. Um, but like I think if it's good enough, then you can be dogmatic about it. Um, but if you're just like always hopping from thing to thing to thing, yeah, I agree. Like on paper, maybe you should be able to make gains. There's no reason you shouldn't, but just switching from curl to curl to curl. But like in practice, I see people do that and they don't get good results, at least initially. When you're more advanced, I think maybe the door opens for that kind of stuff. But going from beginner to intermediate, yeah, you need a lot of belief and consistency for sure.
Yeah,
I think
that's really accurate. Like as advanced, like I do exactly what you're saying. Like I just fucking float. But it's like when I was a beginner to intermediate, like I had very like set periods of time where I'd focus on like one style of something. Like I would maybe it's strength focus for 12 weeks, then I get into, bodybuilding hypertrophy style for the next, 5, 6 months. So it's like I was really not doing that when I was building my foundation. I do think that's really important point. Someone else has
what
something to say?
I was just saying what GVS said there about the results being important is part of my whole life philosophy on pretty much everything. I think your your results in a certain field will put into perspective your own internal beliefs. So if you think you're a great person, let's say you've had an argument with a friend, okay, and you both think you're right, for whatever reason, and you continue to have arguments with people. Now, if after 5, 10 years, 20 years, whatever it is, you're not in a great place. You don't have a great many friends. Your relationship isn't that great. But in your own internal reflection, all the times you've internally reflected on the arguments and relationships, you've come out on top. And you can just argue that to a T. At some point, you've got to look internally and go, right, I don't have the results to back this up because for whatever reason, maybe they don't have a fulfilling relationship or whatever. It's the same in business. If this is the lens that I view everything in life, like I will have my opinions, but they are all quantified and decided based on reality. So if my channel's growing well, maybe I still think I know a thing or two. Well, I still think I've got a lot to learn about YouTube, like a lot, I think. But this year's been all right, and as a result, the growth has been pretty reasonable. Same with like relationships. Right now, thankfully, happy marriage, everything's great, good fulfilling friendships. I'm in a place where the things that I place my energy on, and trust me, it's taken a long time to get to that point, but the things I place my energy on, I feel like as long as I can evaluate them based on the results that I get in any area in life, this is what sparked me on when GVS said that, because I thought it was a really good point. This applies for me in everything, whether it's finance, relationships, just general happiness in general. And a lot of things, I think we all have that inner voice. Like I've had that same inner voice in my head since I was in primary school, right? So, and it's always going to talk to you in a certain way. Now, the way that you know whether that inner voice is leading in the right direction or not is through your results, for the most part, I think. And that I just thought that was a great point. So I wanted to add to that.
Yeah, that's why the data is so important because you
Yeah.
can't lie to yourself, in everything, in the gym and finances and your workflow and everything. So really, really good point, guys. What about you, GVS? What's a major trend from this year you hope dies out?
I would say, and this goes a little bit back to the science-based thing, but I would say rage bait. I'm seeing more and
That
more
ain't
of it.
dying out.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm a little bit optimistic on this
It's what
one.
you hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a hopeful one. This is not an actual one. In fact, I actually see it going the other way, if anything,
Yeah.
and it's so effective. It even gets me. Like I try not to wade into comment sections just because it's hard to wade out. You know what I mean? And yeah, you get notification. Oh, it's like I've done that a few times, but I tend to not. Even if it's about me, I won't even like. All right, these people can just argue about my PRs and on their own time. Like I'm not gonna get involved. Although I have seen people put out misinformation about my lifting that is actually better than reality. And I'm just like, all right, well, shit. They said I deficit deadlifted this much weight 5 years ago. All right, well, it's not
That's not
correct,
correct.
but I'll
UPR,
just
I
leave that
guess.
out there. You know? But I would say, yeah, rage bait because it is very effective. And sometimes they'll tell you it's rage bait. They'll start the video off with, "This is gonna piss a lot of people off." Like you're giving it away and it's still working. And so yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it. Occasionally it gets me, and I've definitely made videos responding, like full on 20, 30-minute YouTube videos responding to this kind of stuff. So maybe I'm part of the problem, if anything, fanning the flames. But yeah, you'll even see this in the science-based community where I think some of these setups where they have, everything catapulted to their arm and
Yeah, I just want
it's
to piss
not
people
something that
off.
yeah, it's not something that is working because they're never big. But I think a lot of that is just rage bait. They finish filming that set and then they go do the real training, or maybe they don't, and that's why they're small. But I think a lot of it is rage bait. A lot of the science-based stuff, um, I like some of Menno's stuff, but some of it is absolutely just engagement bait, like reposting from years ago, and he knows it's going to either piss people off because it's so obvious, or it's just framed in such a way where it's going to get a lot of people talking. And so, yeah, I don't know if I would call that rage bait, but it's certainly engagement bait in a lot of cases. And this is probably not going anywhere, but I wish it would, at least for my own mental health.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of those young kids, I think that's just part of the generation too, is they like to like fucking troll and like do that kind of shit. So I'm the most gullible fucking person in the world with all this shit. Like I think everything's immediately like authentic. But yeah, I think a lot of that is going on. I've been told. For me personally, this is actually something that I thought about before I had talked to, I actually asked Greg this question when we did the Salmon podcast. And he gave the same response that I was already thinking. And I don't know because I don't have my finger to the pulse necessarily, but I do see these YouTube channels where they bring up these kids that are like 17, 18, 19 on gear. Sometimes they're girls that age on gear and like really, really open about it and documenting it and just so transparent and so like and then some of them are some of them are retards but some of them are like smart sounding kids that like seems like they should have their shit together and like I just hear them saying like oh it's like they'll have physiques that are obviously attainable naturally if you're like 17 or 18 you're on gear and they'll be saying oh well it wouldn't have happened as fast like I would have had to wait longer. I'm like bro you're 17. Like bodybuilding doesn't ever really reward rushing things like in any way, especially when it comes to gear. Like everybody I know who ever like pushed gear really young that was like a top level bodybuilder, they fell off, by the time they're like 30. So it's not this is a marathon thing. And I don't know. It's one of those things like I don't know how common that is. It's just popping up. Maybe they're super, super rare, but I just think that that is just insane. And I hope that people don't see that and it gets like normalized at all. And I think that you guys do a great job out there. I know y'all aren't like super preachy about stuff, but especially like when you're young, like I've had people tell me that I've like inspired them to get on gear because I've got on my hair, I've got kids, and like I don't have like terrible sides, but I'm like I don't want to be inspiring you to do that, bro. Like just because my blood's good right now, it doesn't mean it's just a snapshot. Maybe I rush things 5 years and they'll look different sooner than they would have. Like I don't know. So I just hope that's a trend that really really stops. Like I think unless you're like a high level athlete competing, like there's really something you shouldn't even consider. Like especially while you're a teenager and young. I don't know where that's coming from. I felt like that kind of died out a little bit. Like that was really big back in the day with like the Boston there. I don't know if you guys remember Boston Lloyd and shit. Whenever he was promoting all that when he's really really young, I feel like that's kind of coming back. Is this stuff that you guys see on your feed? Because you guys are like the noble natty, so you probably don't ever see that or have to do with that. You guys get any perspective on this?
I see it in the gyms, unfortunately. Like, there are PTs who go to I go to a pretty big gym. There are PTs go to my gym and they're pretty open about their gear use. The one guy who I'm thinking of, he did a show. I don't think he did the show particularly well. And within about 2 weeks, he had blown up 45 pounds and his face looked horrendous. And I just think to myself, that's got to be diuretics, possibly. But the underlying problem is these guys aren't bodybuilders. I've said this analogy before. If we were back in the 90s, they'd be popping ecstasy and whatever on a dance floor. They're just drug addicts pretending to be cosplaying as bodybuilders. In a different generation, they'd be taking some other type of drug. They're not bodybuilders. It's just that right now, that's the fashion. They're just drug takers. And whatever is the current avenue for that, that's what they're doing. So I see a lot of that. And I think that's really the reason why we see this rampant steroid abuse, which is so open, because these guys, the ones who were popping all this stuff when they were younger, I don't think they're bodybuilders by heart. I think they're just drug addicts. That's what they want to do. They just want to take mind and body altering stuff. And again, if it was in the 90s in Edinburgh on a dance floor, they'd be popping E's. That's what I think it is. It's just this generation's outlet. Like the use of various drugs has become so much more common. I talk to some young people and they talk about cocaine like they talk about drinking. It's insane. And I think the conversation around steroids is just as commonplace now because that's just what they do.
Well, all the peptides and shit now too, right? Like now there's so many more early avenues. Like I'm not ready to inject, but I can do this other thing that'll alter my hormones in some way. Anybody else have
Yeah.
any input to this?
Yeah, I do. I do not have much of these kids on Instagram, but I'm also posting on TikTok the same thing I'm posting on Instagram, and these are in my feed and also in my gym. And we are talking about kids that are 15, 17, 18, and they want to pop SARMs, they want to pop peptides. Just like Faye said, they're basically drug addicts, but they think it's cool, so it's okay. And because their favorite influencer have a specific body at 20, they are saying, I'm going to take everything he said, but I will be having the same body at 17. And then they come to me telling me, don't you have any uh, advice for me? And I'm like, I'm natural. What the fuck are you talking about? Oh, it's just that I would like your body, but like I want to do it in 2 years. Oh, good luck. Good fucking luck. And the thing is that it would be funny if they would not be 16, but they are that young. And I did a podcast with a guy he did a competition with me. The last show I did, he was there, and he's soon to be a doctor. And he does videos about specific things, the health and the sport and these two branches apply to bodybuilding. And he has guys that are 16, 17, 19, and they ask him to do a stack of steroids for them in DM all the time. And he also have guys that comes with um, hypogonadism at 16, but they induced it by stealing the pill of their sister. So they have too much estrogen, so the testosterone crash. So
Yeah.
now they are eligible to take TRT. They are 16. So they want the TRT and the sound and the peptide. It's crazy. It's mind-boggling that they would even have this thought process. But you have influencers, notably on TikTok, maybe on Instagram too, but I do not see them. But apparently on TikTok, it's a real thing. And they do this tutorial how to get TRT at 17. Let's go. So you're going to do this and that, and it's on TikTok, and they are left unchecked.
That's
The-
wild.
the-
I mean,
the-
that's a crime, right?
well, I don't know. I guess not because TikTok is not censoring them.
Uh,
And
that's
I'm talking about guys that are both from Europe and the US, not like French guys. It's like it's Occidental basically. So, it's on TikTok, and these guys have like 300, 400Ks followers, and it's all kids. And they have their influencer code, so they're making money out of it.
Mm.
I mean, it's like you can run, like you've got such good hormones at that age. You guys remember what it was like being that fucking age? Like I've been
Yeah.
on gear. I've been on gear and I've probably never been as horny as I was when I was that, 14 to 18. Like the test levels were just through the roof. And I don't know if you guys have seen my pics when I was a kid. Like you can build a great fucking physique as a young kid with those fucking hormones. Fucking
Yeah.
like run with that. And then once if that's your goal and you're set on it, like do it after your hormones are chilling out a little bit. Like don't like dampen them because you're gonna fuck that up. You want to rock that as long as you can. I really
Totally.
hope this trend changes. And like I said, I think that you guys are really like good for what you guys bring to the industry. I know you get accused of being fake natties a lot, some of you, but I think you have inspired a lot of people to stay natty. And it's like I mean I think that's admirable. I don't think there's anything glorified about gear at all.
Well, I think part of it is it almost kind of comes full circle here, where you look at the people that inspired the not this current generation of lifters, but the generation before that. So people like really like a few of us. Jeff, I don't know when you started lifting, but probably around the same time I started, maybe a little bit before. But the people that are maybe my age, so mid 20s, that came up lifting when they were mid to late teens, these people were inspired by guys like David Lade, for example. That's kind of the example that most people are going to know. What inspired or what made him inspire so many people wasn't just the physique, it was the training. It was the passion he had for training. And you could critique the way he trained, especially in hindsight, now that the community's evolved a bit, now that science has become a little bit more prominent. But his transformation video is, yeah, it's about his physique, but it's about his training too. And he has this laser focus and obsession with his training that inspired a ton of other people to do the same. And they got into getting results and getting it, and they got into lifting before they even thought about gear. And it's like they already had a good physique before they even needed to consider gear. And at that point, I think a lot of people get almost turned off from it because they already know what it's like to get results and train in a sufficient way, at least for getting to like the intermediate stage or so. And that's kind of missing now. So these guys are inspired by people, and like Jonathan, like you were saying, where you had a Gymshark influencer come out to see you to get help, and you don't even know what his training looks like because he doesn't post his training. So it's like these people are purely inspired by the physiques. You get more clout from talking about gear and being open about it now. And you get more reach that way, especially since it's mainstream. And let's be real, like being a kind of a more like hardcore lifter or somebody that really enjoys the actual process of lifting, that's rare and it always will be. But now that fitness is mainstream, you're getting a lot of people that are only into it because it's mainstream, not because it's an innate desire, like maybe the people back in the 2000s, 90s, or even the early 2010s would be before it was too much of a community. So I think Yeah, to go kind of full circle there, I think the lack of an inspiring style of training, or even just seeing training at all on social media, is going to make people look to other routes to get results, especially when you're at that age too, and life kind of ends when you're 21 apparently. So they're they're not thinking long term.
Agreed.
So we talked about trends that we hope dies in 2026, but I was curious, what is maybe just like one prediction you have for 2026, something that you definitely see on the horizon, whether it's an industry thing or just like a fitness thing, whatever you think. Let's if anyone got it, you can just throw it out. If not, no worries. We are kind of touching a few things.
I wanted to hop in on the previous one because for me there's such a huge discrepancy from the online world and the in-person, just because, especially for me living in China, no one's on steroids. Like if you go to a typical gym, like I mean, obviously you don't know just looking at someone like they might be, but it's just really, really not common at all here. Maybe it's a societal thing.
You're taking
I
them
think a
all.
lot of them. I think a lot. I think a lot of them are produced here, actually. Yeah, yeah, more for me. No,
More
I
for
think
me.
a lot of them are produced here, but in terms of usage, I've never seen steroids in person. Right? I've heard stories about people in the bathroom shooting up and stuff, but I've never seen them in person, ever. And I think I've maybe seen one or two people in my life where they were so big that I was like, oh shit, like that's what steroids like. They're just gargantuan, like 280 pounds or something. Like I saw a few guys in Thailand where I was like, oh, okay, like shit, that's what it looks like. Interesting. But here in China, like I just don't see it very often. But then you see online all these stories of kids taking them and them becoming more normalized and glorified and popular. And it is just a cultural shift that maybe there's a little bit of backlash against it, where you'll see it in the comment sections now where there is a pushback against anyone who's taking them really early or when they're clearly not very serious about it. Um, Whereas I didn't really see that as much a few years ago. So I think there is a pushback against it. It's just interesting seeing the dichotomy between online and then in real life, at least for me. What was this? What was the next question? Sorry.
No, no, it's just no, it's funny. No, I'm glad you jumped in. It's like whenever I was in at Pure in Canada, they have like the needle disposal things in the bathrooms, and it's like that
That's
common.
crazy to me. That's crazy.
It's like so different, right?
You
Um,
have a specific trash for it?
yeah, I should. No, I just protein bottles. My empty protein jug was it. But yeah,
Okay.
no, you should have something separate.
Okay,
But
because if they leave it on the floor in the locker rooms here,
oh,
so
oh, they leave it on the floor. But no, at the gyms over
yeah.
there, yeah, at the in Pure, yeah, they have like it said here's this is where you put your needles, guys. Insulin needles, syringes. I mean, it's also decriminalized there, but I think they do that like in certain gyms here. I mean, I've definitely gone to San Diego, and I see fucking just syringes everywhere when I go to the gym out there. A lot of times there's insulin. You know, people doing their insulin pump before they go. You do like a couple of IUs of insulin, get that.
Wow.
I know it's kind of wild out there. Um, last question for I guess we got one more, but for the predictions for 2026, if you guys have anything that you think is a guarantee, like this is going to happen, let's just throw it out there. Whoever wants to go, if you've got something to contribute. Right.
I
What's
think
up,
we'll
Hers?
see. Oh yeah, go on,
Oh,
Hers.
I mean,
no,
I
no,
said to
no,
throw it
no.
out there. You didn't throw it out there, but you were polite. What's your
No, no, go
response,
ahead. Go ahead.
Herso?
No, no, go ahead, Faz. It's fine. It's fine.
No, no, Hers, please go ahead.
Guys are too
Oh, all
fucking
right,
polite.
sorry. I was going to say biohacking.
Yeah.
Because there are so many people now that want to optimize absolutely everything. So they did everything they could to optimize the training, also they think. Then at some point they're going to go onto the diet, onto the recovery, onto the sleep, onto the rest, on maybe the circadian rhythm. Then they are going to obviously have to open the rabbit hole about pollution, and even the microdensity and the how to say it in English, the location from where the food and the clothes they have is coming from, and like it's the open door, like it's the tree hiding the forest for biohacking with a big B. So I think some people will just say, just eat good, train hard, sleep good, and some others are going to go the absolute 20 extra miles to do absolutely everything right, especially since what's his name? Brian Johnson, I think. There is a guy like he's trying to stay young or like regenerate. He's posting everything on Twitter, and it's about injecting stuff and about taking specific micros and absolutely verifying, sampling everything. And some people getting inspired by that for plenty of usage, both the health and the productivity and the recovery when they're injured, etc. That's also the open door for peptides. And I'm pretty sure that there will be this subculture of people that really want to go 300% into that and not just doing it because it's fun or because they enjoy it.
Agreed. Yeah.
Mm.
What about you, Faz?
So I was just going to point out the difference between science-based listing versus evidence-based, which has come about mostly this year. Broadly speaking, evidence-based, we're all quite familiar with it, but science-based lifting seems to be the kind of the newer version, with the cuffs and all that kind of stuff. Maybe what we could loosely call the Chris Beardsley school of approach. And I just wanted to point out, I think over the course of the next year, my prediction is we're going to see a continued dismantling of the evidence-based the popularity of the evidence-based sphere, because I think this is somewhat analogous to what happened in the early 2000s. So I'm familiar with a lot of Chris Beardsley's arguments because a lot of those were being made back in the 2000s by the hit crowd, because it's the same physiology research. It's the same papers that they're quoting. So a lot of what he says is actually the same stuff. Now, one of the issues with the physiology-based stuff is it doesn't account for personal experience. And that is what gave rise to evidence-based practice in 2010, because evidence-based practice, the whole idea is you're supposed to take into account the science, yourself, and your client. So it was the addition of that. Like, I'll give you an example. Just recently, Chris released a podcast where he was discussing warm-ups and this idea that warm-ups just generally aren't a necessary part of training, which I thought was insane. So he
What?
recommends doing a whole body warm-up, but then in terms of the leading sets, he thinks the only real benefit there is PAP, like PAP effect
That's
of
a
your
benefit.
set. Yeah, yeah, it's insane. So now, according to the science, that's locked. But again, this is where we went wrong in the early 2000s because we discounted personal experience. And then that was overtaken by evidence base. So Brad Schoenfeld was, for me, right place, right time. He came in 2010. People were sick of the current science back then, which was saying, this is the way it should be. We've got the studies to back it up. If you're telling me you need a warm up, well, you're just going against science. I guess you're anti-science then. Maybe you also believe that the earth is flat. Like that was the way it was framed back then. And so I think what's going to happen is over the course of the following year, evidence-based lifting is going to go the way that the HIT guys did back in about 2008, 2009. I think they're going to mostly die off, certainly as the dominant voice. And then next year, we're going to get more of a rise of science-based lifting, and that's going to become more refined. And it may well have a period of where it's quite useful, but I think ultimately we're going to see the continued minimization of evidence-based lifting and evidence-based lifters because we've now got to that point where that cycle has gotten silly and it's gotten ridiculous and it's now on the way out. So I just think some of that is in cycles. I know we said earlier on that there are lots of camps and that's a good thing, but in terms of the meta, I definitely see the evidence-based lifters getting less and less attention and science-based becoming a separate field altogether, SBL versus sort of evidence-based lifting. So I'm looking forward to see how it plays out. I did make a video at the beginning of this year saying that 2024 was a particularly bad year for evidence-based lifting, and I think I'm ending this year thinking it's been even worse. So I don't see it getting better. I don't see the current younger generation of evidence-based influencers being as impactful as your Mike Israetels or Brad Schoenfeld were back in their day. I don't see the two or three guys coming up now. I don't see them making a huge impact. So one of them has already completely ruined his reputation with the Mike Israetel scandal.
Yeah. Uh, what about you guys? Anything?
I would say similar to that, a return to bro-based lifting. You kind of see it a little bit with Diamond Gym. I've seen a few videos on it where it's just like people training almost ridiculously hard, where they're getting all kinds of issues from it and injuries and people deadlifting and then getting assisted deadlifts. I saw a guy help someone with the deadlift by like grabbing his chin and like lifting him up, which is, I mean, to be clear, that's asinine. Like that is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. But I see it as a backlash against everything supported with the cuff and you can't hold on to a barbell because your hands might get slightly, roughed up or anything like that. So yeah, the longer you're in the fitness industry, the more you see, oh, this is a reaction to this. Like, oh, high intensity training, it's super popular right now because it's a reaction to 52 sets per week, 45 sets per week kind of thing. And so I think there's going to be a swing towards bro-based lifting where people are just like, shut up, all that matters is training hard, nothing else. And as with anything, there's some value in it, but it's people going too far in one direction and ignoring all the other variables. I mean, I'm known for training hard, and I think training hard is very, very important, but there are other factors, and you don't want to be needlessly risky with things. Like, there's no point in lifting weights that you have no business lifting. I mean, maybe for the gram, but there are certainly long-term repercussions to continually doing dumb stuff, right? Like I went through my ego lifting phase in 2018, doing 3.5 plate bent over rows that were very deadlifty with a little bit of arm bend at the top, that kind of stuff. Super fun. I loved it, but it's just not worth it, especially if your goal is hypertrophy. And so I love training a little bit like a bro, but it can definitely go too far at times.
Anything super philosophical to add at all, Basement?
Oh, maybe. I would say eventually people are going to get sick of a few things. I think what draws a lot of people to the science-based crowd is just overall neuroticism. I think you get a lot of people that need an answer and they don't trust themselves enough to discover things on their own. They're very much in their own heads, very anxious types. And they just want an answer. But I think eventually you're going to get sick of being told what to do. Training should be something where it's almost like a kind of like a physical release and you get to experiment with yourself. We live very sedentary lives in the modern world. And I think when you go to the gym and then that's your place to be free and you're still, oh, what did Jeff Nippert or what did this science-based guy tell me to do? Then you get stuck doing that. And I've been there before with some science-based stuff and some just general dogmatic stuff in the community. And it's not a fun way to train. You get sick of it pretty quick, and eventually you just want to say, you know what, I'll be a little bit rebellious and kind of do my own thing. So I already see other kind of parallel communities and industries making that same shift, especially if you look at like almost the whole health section or vitality section on other platforms like Twitter, for example. You kind of see people shifting away from science and more into, I wouldn't say like a blind trust or a blind hope or faith in stuff, but I think people are realizing that science is more so a stunt of knowledge than it is a something that kind of generates curiosity, at least when you're a consumer of it rather than an actual scientist. So I do see that shift kind of following onto lifting at some point, probably next year, which is has its pros and cons, but I think ultimately it's going to be good to kind of break away from being told what to do and kind of being a slave to science in a way.
Yeah, definitely. Um, for me, something that I've seen, and it might be a little different since you guys are more online space and with your crowds, but two big things that are really happening overall in the fitness industry are obviously we got the GLP-1 usage is just crazy. I don't know what it's like in the other countries, like GVS. I don't think a lot of Chinese people are taking that, are they? Like, or maybe they are if they're just normal because they got to
I
be super
don't
skinny.
I don't think there's a need for it
Yeah,
as much. Like we have fat shaming here, so
that's what I'm
like that's
saying.
kind of yeah, we've gotten
Takes
that
care
into
of
it.
it.
No, I'm half joking, but like yeah, maybe a quarter joking because it is a real thing here. Um, and in terms, yeah, I don't think there's. I've never even heard anyone ask me about it or talk about it, so I don't think it is a thing now.
What about you, Herso, over there? It's a little bit more common, I'm assuming.
Let's just say that everyone that was body positive 5 years ago is on it. So
They're all skinny now, and it's pretty much the same over there, Faz. Pretty,
I haven't heard too much apart from just the drug influencers and coaches talk about it. In common day life, like with my friends and stuff, no one really discusses it that much. I have a few clients who have been on it from their doctor's orders. And so I've been learning about it. I bought Lyle McDonald's book on GLP-1s, been reading through that just to kind of educate myself more as a coach, just to help these guys out. But no, no, not massively.
yeah.
Haven't
I
heard a
didn't.
lot about it apart from what I purposely got out and saw in terms of educating myself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously here in America, it's the thing. It's like there's I'd rather have a girl have a little bit of a belly and an ass than nothing. But but that's becoming a big thing. Like a lot of these people are losing so much fucking weight and they're not getting off of it for some reason. And then like their doctors are telling them like, hey, you got to do some strength training. You've got to get your diet under control. Like you need to eat protein. And so some of these are people that aren't gym people usually. These are people that maybe have never been in the gym or tried the gym once or twice and didn't really like stick with it. So it's a whole new population of people that are incoming into the industry that a lot of new clientele for trainers. I do think there'll be some online, but I do think a lot of that will be in person as well. And then the other thing that I'm noticing is the longevity shit. Like you guys were saying, it is bleeding over into training too. Like I see, and I'm sure there's a purpose. And if I had all the time in the world, I would do so many different things. But I'm seeing like a lot of these. They call like zone zero. Have you guys seen that? So you got zone one, two, and three. There's a zone zero where it's like you might just step up and down on like a step up for 45 minutes. Just low intensity, just oxidative energy, and that is a longevity workout. So I mean, there is some stuff to it, I think, but that's so hard to actually implement. But yeah, a lot of people are now training for longevity, especially because I think you're going to hit this Generation X crowd that's starting to get a little bit older, the older Gen X, not the younger Gen X Faz, the older Gen X who's starting to go into retirement and stuff. I could see them really being the ones. Like I don't see the boomers necessarily being the ones that push it like crazy, but I can see a lot of the Gen X kind of buying into this, and this is interesting. It's interesting to see how far to go. Have you guys seen any of this type of stuff at all?
yep,
Yeah. What have you
yep.
seen?
Well, I've seen what you described, but for us, it was more about walking on an incline treadmill. And I've seen also specific supplement stack for longevity, and it's basically the same as like no heal for like just taking care of yourself, and specific training for longevity, so a mix of cardio and training. And yeah,
Yeah, it's not really bodybuilding style training. They'll do some like more
no,
strength stuff, and then the rest
yeah,
of it is
strength stuff, body weight stuff, and it's like 50-50 training like that, so strength
yeah,
training and then cardio.
yeah,
And the
yeah.
cardio is like HIIT, it can be circuit stuff, and it can be also low intensity.
It seems so boring. Like the thing is like you can do all this. Like what if Brian Johnson just fucking like got hit by a bus like tomorrow? Would he regret spending all this time and money like doing this instead of just fucking living life? Because that's something that I struggle with. I had an experience when I was young where I lost a lot of money, like $100,000 when I was really young, and like I didn't spend any. I had just saved it, and like I regretted that forever. I was like, I fucking should have just blown all that and enjoyed it. So that's something I always kind of struggle with is the uncertainty and how much do we actually want to put into longevity when it's nothing's guaranteed.
Well, I guess it's just like a bracket, it's like it's a box, and it's like marketing basically because anyone can do longevity training, just like everyone. We know that, but they don't. But everyone can do whatever. They can do endurance training, they can do strength training, bodybuilding, any age. But for specific needs, you can have this offer of like, hey, look, it's longevity training. And it's obviously not going to be the youngsters that are 20 something or the age of basement, for example, that will be the most interested into it. But then you have this offer and you will be able to get people start being maybe 50, 60, stuff like that, maybe late 40s. Uh, and they have this interest in mind. But in itself, it's basically the same thing. It's just that the box and the marketing is made in a sense where it's like it's for specific people, when in reality, it's for everyone.
Yeah, well, unless you train like a fucking jackass, I think all training should be like longevity training to some degree, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you
Well,
guys.
aside from power building.
Yeah, because I'm saying anything like exactly anything like I don't think strong men are training for longevity. Sorry, Faz, you've done a lot of stuff to break your body down over the years. And then anybody, you guys good? Let's finish with the year end stuff and predictions with this. We can go through this pretty quick. What are your guys' personal goals for 2026? Let's do like one fitness physique goal and one personal goal. Let's start with you, GVS.
I kind of have a little bit of variety at the moment. Jeffrey Variety Schofield at the moment, where dun I'd like to run a 5 minute mile, and I have a couple of secret goals, which they're sort of projects that I'm working on. And so I'd like to get in pretty darn shape, like pretty good shredded, 8, 7, 6% body fat for, just for no reason. And so those are the two big ones.
You have a time frame
Then
for that body fat percentage?
probably early summer-ish. So not super close, but when you're trying to get that lean, it takes a little while. So you
So you're
got to
just
give
gonna kind
yourself
of
a runway.
chill the way you are now, or are you trying to put on some more first?
No, I don't think I'll go into a gaining phase just because it'll take most of the time to get down there, I think. I've been kind of main gaining low 200 pounds, and I'd probably be looking at like 190 to get down there.
That's crazy. You
Um,
look so big at 190.
yeah, no, it's we'll see how I feel at 190. It might be a little bit too low, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. And then that's kind of coinciding with the running thing. Although once you get too lean, running kind of gets tough to maintain because it does take a lot of energy. And then personal goals. Let's see. Yeah, just maintain a happy and healthy marriage. That's the main one, I guess. And then yeah, that's the biggest one I would say for me.
Happy wife, happy life. They say. What about you, basement?
Yeah, well, I already did my 5 minute mile, so no, I'm kidding for this. I would say, as far as my training goals go, it would be to pick a direction I want to go in as far as leanness goes. I am on the fence about going into a very lean bulk. I've already done what I'd call my giga bulk. I did that in 2024. I don't need to do that again and turn my face back into a moon, but picking a direction. So either doing a super slow, steady lean bulk or going into a cut and actually kind of getting lean for the first time. And then as far as like
That
training,
was a question, Landon, was will you ever be in single digit body fat? Someone had asked that.
oh, oh, asking me specifically.
That was one of the questions I got for the pod.
Okay. I was gonna say because people ask me all the time because I've been a YouTuber for a while, never actually like done a cut. So single digit, yeah, I probably will be at some point. I've gotten down to like maybe 11 to 13% back when I was younger, but um I probably will do it at some point, but I don't think my physique is I don't think it's fully baked yet. I think I got to do a little bit more. Got to re-bring up my legs. Got to get the spinal erectors up. Still have to trap max a little bit. Arms and delts are doing fine, but the rest still needs to come up a little more.
Just spend your 20s
As
bulking,
far as
bro. Get lean when you're
what
30.
was it?
So just spend
Oh
your
yeah.
20s bulking.
Well, that was the plan, and then I got sick of it. So, as far as training goes, what I want to do is experiment more with controlled concentrics, as like kind of niche or as obscure as that might sound. I've really been liking training almost sub-maximally in my concentrics and going for slightly higher reps and just lifting with way more control. I've gotten quite strong on a lot of movements, and it works really good to get you big to a certain extent, and then it just doesn't become a sustainable way to train. So you have to shift some things around. So I've really been enjoying this way of just putting a ton of stock into local fatigue, local stimulus, and uh, making sure that my training isn't beating me up like it used to, at least systemically. So that's been really nice. As far as personal goals, I would say my biggest thing is just to like finally stop living under a rock and just become more worldly, as vague as that sounds. I've been very much like autistically into lifting and haven't really ventured out into a whole ton of other stuff as far as traveling, watching popular movies, all that kind of stuff. So I have a lot of like learning to do as an adult at this point, I would say.
I have a lot of people slow down their pulls, especially. Like, do you feel pretty good with the rows going slow? That's like a game changer, I think, for a lot of people on their back.
Yeah, actually, one of my favorite things about like this kind of T-bar row machine that I have here is I can really focus on the squeeze without sacrificing getting a kind of a big stretch, or at least not necessarily a big stretch, more tension towards the mid and the bottom range. So it depends on the row variation that I'm doing, but yeah, I definitely focusing on getting a proper contraction with the traps. And with the lats too, just lifting with more control. Getting back into pull-ups, and it's like I mentioned this in my last video, but I basically went to zero RIR doing sets of 6 and one less than 8 reps for a handful of sets.
That's cool.
And
Yeah, I
it's
have it
like
on. Sorry, keep going.
no, I was just saying that that's like present day training, just making the movement as hard as I can, and it works well, which is cool.
You must be on steroids.
Yeah, because yeah, remember if you're the strength levels that you use in that exact lift is your maximum potential strength. Exactly. Excellent argument, you
It's,
see.
it's not very evidence-based basement.
What's your source?
What's that?
What's your source?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You got a PubMed
My
link, bro?
soreness, my lat spread. Um, what about you, Harso? What are your goals? I'm assuming you're going to be stepping on stage as a pro. I mean, I don't know if that's one of your goals, but what do you got going on?
Yeah, that's the goal. It would be to do. I think. I mean, I have a pro card, but I'm supposed to validate it. Like, I'm not really sure about this thing. This was kind of shady for me, but I'm supposed to do 1 or 2 pro shows to like really like settle it. And yeah, the goal would be to do the World Cup. So we'll see. The last prep I did good, but I could have done better. I did it alone. I had no coach.
No,
Now I know that I could have done it in a smarter way, and maybe I could have added 2 weeks of cutting to really be like top max. So this was not my prime. However, the recovery is a bit longer than expected because I still have somewhat of room to go back to where I was previously before the prep, and it's been already 3 months, so we'll see. Because then I have like a little margin, to keep progressing and then go in prep again. Uh,
when
because
is the
those
Worlds? Oh, okay, sorry.
no,
Yeah.
November, end of
Oh,
November.
okay.
Yeah, and so I would need to do like pro shows maybe in September or October, maintain, do the world, and done. So yeah, that's the initial plan. I'll see if there is any way to modify it or if there is need for it, but that's the initial plan. And as for personal life, I've been extra work focus the last 2, 3 years, and it has cost me a lot on different aspects. So I guess I like basement. I guess I could try and chill a little bit, even if each time I do it, I I feel guilty, to not to unplug, and to not keep grinding. But at the same time, I kind of arrived not where I want to be, but I built somewhat of a good roller coaster and a good snowballing effect regarding business. So technically speaking, I can allow myself, but it's really hard to just, let go and understand that, now you have to change the mindset and the the way you work and you approach things. It's just like Faye said, it's like at some point your model, you're convinced you're doing right, but at some point, maybe what you think is good and the results that you have, there is like there is no overlap, and it's like, okay, maybe I should stop and reflect and assess and modify. So I think I'm there regarding my personal life, and I just would like it to be better.
Nice. What about you, Faz?
So just to pick up from what Hersa said, I really like that goal. I think that's something which I want to do myself. Over the last 3 or 4 years, I've been doing this whole thing kind of full time. It's gone well. It's gone really well, and I'm at the point now where I really would like to have a better work-life balance. And I've been talking about this with my brother over the last couple of weeks, as we both had some time off, and One of the things that I would like to do over the course of the day is build in some breaks because I just don't. I'll wake up in the morning, 6:30, I'm at the gym, and then I'm just go, go, go until probably 7 o'clock at night where I'll speak to my wife and we'll hang out for a while and chill. I have always had a great deal of success with meditation, and I would like to get back to having a slot, a non-negotiable, non-negotiable, it's a throwback, to to having a meditation slot during the course of the day, because that just does a lot of good things for me. I think just sort of stage one meditation where you're practicing clearing your brain. Because right from the moment I wake up, I'm thinking about things, I'm thinking about people, things I've got to do. I have a list of things, and that's gone great. My organization for getting stuff done is fantastic. So as a result, that's gone really well. But I'm at the point now where, like Herso said, you evaluate your life and you think, well, what are the areas where I feel I need to improve? So far, the most of the buckets in my life are pretty good, and I'm happy with that. So, we juggle plates, right? All these, some plates are relationships, friendships, money, business, all that. So most of the plates are going really well. And I think the one thing which I think is taking a bit of a hit for me is just trying to enjoy the days, not just, right, let's get through another 12-hour day to hit the weekend and then enjoy the weekend. Let's get through another 3-month block, then I can go on holiday and enjoy that. So trying to enjoy the days, because at some point, all this stuff we're working towards, the money we're making, the business we're doing, you've got to enjoy it at some point. And I'm getting to the point where, not to preach to you guys, I'm at the point where I'm mid 40s now. And at some point, you've got to slow down. You've got to make sure, okay, now is we're living now, not this fictional tomorrow, because tomorrow never really comes. There's always work to be done. So unless you start to really take time out and enjoy the now, the days, and build in periods of time where you can take a step back during the course of the day. And it's so hard to do because the temptation is, if business is going well, rinse it, because at some point it won't. But that's not really living life. That's just living for the future. And I don't think that's a healthy strategy. So my biggest personal goal is to enjoy my days better because I've got such great friends, great marriage, things are going well here. Touch wood. So there's a lot to be enjoyed. I get invited on the podcast with you gentlemen. It's fantastic. So that's a big personal goal. In terms of like other things, 2025 was a big experimental year for me in that I stayed relatively lean all year round. I got pretty diced at about March time, was in good shape, sub 10%, and I maintained within about 7 kilos of that all year round, which was tough, but it required quite a lot of discipline on my front. Now, I haven't really had time to sit down and evaluate that because that's been difficult for me. I've always been a heavier set guy, so that's been an interesting experiment. But I've not really had time to evaluate the knock-on effect that's had on my training and whether I want to. Similar to what you were saying, Landon, whether I want to commit to another bulk or what direction to take it. I don't know if at my age it's worth carrying on doing the bulking and cutting cycles. Late 2024, I got up to 100 kilos, which was a good big weight, 220 pounds. For most of this year, I cut down to 165 and I've been hanging out at about 180. And that's quite small for me. I've always been about 200 or 190ish. So yeah, mostly 200. So I guess at the moment, what I'm looking forward to is just maybe having a bit more thinking time on that and just see what direction I want to take. It's always that balance between, does this look better for YouTube? And also maybe I feel more comfortable, lighter as well, which I do. But then it's kind of fun to get big. So that hasn't left me yet. I still like to do that. So I'm still deciding, but that's my other thing.
Man, I want to see you 220. I don't know if I saw that picture. Yeah, send me it. I like to see how you carry it.
Okay.
Um, personally, so yeah, Faz, what you were saying about living for now and not the future, that's exactly what I was talking about with Brian Johnson getting hit by a bus. And there's always a hard balance, right? Because we do obviously want to be in a good spot for the future, but if you're not enjoying, the present, then what is the point of all this? And like I think obviously for all of us, I'm sure balance can be an issue. It's when you run your own business, especially when it's kind of like ours, like it's very easy to do nothing but that if that's what you wanted to do. So obviously, yeah, I'm trying to find some balance, and it's hard because you got to know yourself and know your limitations of what you can actually change for yourself too. Like I think that's a big thing that people don't necessarily do. Sometimes they give themselves too much credit for things that they can change. I think that we can change a lot, but sometimes I think it takes a ton of resources also to create change that we don't necessarily have. So sometimes you got to like utilize your fucking autism like the right way. I guess that's kind of more what I'm trying to do for 25, because it's like I'll if I there's always shit you can do, right? Like I can always get on and do online client stuff and programming, and I can just get busy with that, and that's fine. I don't have to be in like a state of mind for that. But if you're doing the social media stuff or you're doing certain videos, it's like you got to be, especially if I'm doing something ridiculous or I'm trying to be like humorous, like you got to be in a state of mind. And it's like if I don't run with that while I've got it, it might last for 2 days. I might end up like just burning through so much shit. But if I don't exhaust myself those 2 days, I might not feel that way again for like another month. And like I fucking missed out on my chance. So it's kind of hard to like capture lightning again. So I'm trying to find balance for sure by some of the stuff you were saying. I think like scheduling some time out is really good. And then but for the biggest thing for me personally is I want to play my fucking guitar again. It's like I've had that. I think a lot of us probably are pretty obsessive. This seems to be very common in this industry, and I've only had like a couple things I've ever been about, and then one of them was the guitar. I got extremely obsessed with guitar when I was like 11 to 13, and then Dungeons and Dragons for like a year, and then and then bodybuilding took over, and like so it's like I really would like to get back to that. I played a little bit when my son was born, and it was like it just, even though I suck now, it's just so like nice to do something in that moment, not having to think about anything, just be present with what you're doing. So that's my personal goal, is really to play a guitar. But that's just doing that is going to create other things, making the time to do that. That'll create a little more balance. And then physically, I think probably this will be my last year of like bodybuilding. And so I'm going to try to do one more run for the pro card. And as long as I get top three, I got fourth last year. As long as I look better and I get top three, I'll be glad. It's not my goal to turn pro. I think that could be cool. I think I got a good shot. I know I'm kind of close, but after this year, regardless, like it's been really hard to stay motivated the last few months. Like I'm just now finally getting it. After this year, I think I'm gonna like change my focus and just not be a bodybuilder, which is so crazy to fucking say because that's what I've done since I was 14. But we have to evolve at some point. So yeah, that's where I'm going. So one more year, I'm gonna document it. I really want to compete like with all the ECM kind of knowledge base that I have, because when I competed in 2024, I did a lot of things similarly, but there's some things different, especially with legs now, that I think will really make a big difference as far as being able to maintain fullness. So I just want to see myself at my best. If any, like you've competed, her, so you know what it's like. It's like as long as you just if you don't see yourself as your very best, like that's the worst. Like I've only been my best one time. If I can recreate that one more time, I'll be happy. So that is it for the 2026 and 2025 wrap up. Guys, have anything else to add? You good? Want to go over a couple of quick topics? Cool. Okay, so I got a couple topics. We can go over them as much or little as you want, and then we'll go through a couple of rapid fire questions at the end real quick. So most of these were submitted by people through like Reddit or YouTube or Instagram. So let's start with this one. What's something you changed in your lifting technique that led to new gains? Let's go ahead and let's start back with you again, Faz, if you're good. Want someone
I
else
mean,
go?
not so much change, more like I guess relearned. I think going back to what Landon was saying, while you were speaking about being more, I think you were saying being more mindful with your lifting and more focused on the concentrics. One of the ways to make kind of UK-based lifting work, which is high intensity training work, is to be a lot more accurate with your reps. That's the phrase you hear get thrown around quite a lot in UK Instagram and YouTube. Accuracy and intent, super important. And I think one thing that I've relearned, because I've got my inner powerlifter. I just want to slang heavy weights, right? So when I get excited, it ends up just being rah, let's do it. But where I get the better results, and I have to constantly remind myself, is just to lift with that little bit more intent. So generally that will involve slowing things down, improving my muscle connection. I think something which we don't really talk about very much, which I think I heard one of you guys mention, was the squeeze. Now, for me, I think when you squeeze, this is not science-based, but just my experience, you can reconnect with the muscle on every rep. So I think the stretch and the squeeze are quite synergistic in that respect. You squeeze the weight, you connect with the muscle, and then you take it into the stretch, and then you squeeze the weight again, connect with the muscle. Very much fits in, I guess, for Jonathan with your ECM model as well, and some of the cues that you give to people. So that's something which I remind myself of, because it's far too tempting for me, especially with the way that I'm built. I've always been a powerlifter. I've always been a strong strength kind of guy, it's far too easy for me to explode things. So slow things down, mind muscle connection, make sure the weight is being moved by the appropriate muscles and really get that stretch and that squeeze as much as possible in the appropriate exercises. And I tend to get far better results from that with less weight. So it's a win-win.
Let's go to you, GVS. We'll switch it up. What about you? What's something you changed in your lifting technique that led to new gains? So these would be things obviously after your beginner gains.
I would say making sure that the muscle you're trying to target is the limiting factor, which is somewhat similar to the other points where you are, if you're squatting, I mean, I used to squat and my hips would always be shooting back. I mean, it was almost like a spinal erector exercise on some lifts where, you're really like Pete Rubishing the weight. I'm sure some people know what I'm talking about, where, it's almost like a neck movement in some
David
cases.
Goggins.
Exactly. And so just making sure that the muscle I'm trying to target is actually just biomechanically going to be the limiter. So if you're squatting for quads, you're fairly upright, the knees are going forward. If you're doing some kind of pull down for lats, you're making sure that you're not turning it into some kind of weird row. You see some people do pull-ups and it's like they're out here and it's not doing what they're thinking it's doing. And I could go on and on with so many movements where, I mean, I used to do lateral raises with 30 kilos, 35 kilos per hand, and my delts are much bigger now, and I'm using, I mean, I could use very, very light weights, even lighter than I use now. I use like 10 to 12 and a half kilos, maybe 15. But if you gave me 7.5 kilo dumbbells, like 15 or so pounds, I could I could still get a lot out of them if you're moving in exactly the right way and you are really keeping the traps out of it and you're keeping in the scapular plane. I mean, and it doesn't beat you up at all, right? It's just it's so repeatable, and this is where I look at the guys ahead of me. That's the thing, right? Like the younger guys who are smaller than me, like, whatever. But the older guys who have been at it a long time, like I'm listening to them for sure. And a lot of the stuff they're doing, they're not maxing out, they're not lifting as much as they could. They're actually intentionally going sub-maximal in terms of loading, and then they're moving in such a way to where they are actually like, training the muscle, not the joints, right? Jason Gallant. And so, yeah, I see a lot of these guys where I'm thinking ahead and I'm thinking that's a good idea. So, yeah, I'm trying to make the muscle the limiting factor. And then I'm also not trying to get too carried away with the weight that I use. Yeah, those two things.
Yeah, that's so important having local fatigue. That's what I just talked about on the progressive overload. Because right, if you're just failing but you're adding the weight and it's systematic failure, it's like what are we progressing? That's just your CNS, your ability to move that weight. So local fatigue is super important. That's why I just can't understand how people could ever write off mind muscle connection. Like I feel like that's died out a little bit. That's another thing I think has changed slightly this past year. So what about you, Herso? Is there anything that you changed with your lifting technique?
Well, I'm sorry, but I will basically just repeat what FaZe and Geoffrey said. But the main thing that it really hit me. It's been a few years that I'm going on and on with it, but especially during the prep, is that at some point I was too tired, but I still had to train hard. How do I do this? I reduce the weight, or I make sure the weight is actually harder than it's supposed to be. And one of the way to do that is to control more of the concentric, just like Baseman said, and especially with arms training. I really felt a difference because I have short biceps, but I have hypermobile elbows. So biceps was always a weak point for me because I would just, move the weight with the shoulder and the forearms. I was literally able to do multiple sets of curls and the biceps would not pump at all, but the forearm and delt would. And yet the form from the external point of view would be fine. But I was not moving the weight with the biceps. And one of the things that I basically copy pasted with basement is like this pressure curl technique that he has. And that really helped me maintain the shit ton of mass with my arms despite being like 6% body fat. And also, backwise, I always say to the people I train or people that ask me, because it's a strong point for me, but right from the beginning, I did stuff out of instinct that were actually correct, and it was to pause at the bottom and at the top. I do not like to slow down negative on the back because I feel like the arm and the wrist and the grip, sorry, will give out first because they are way weaker than the back muscle. So what I would do is that I would pause and flex, and then I would stretch, and I would pause at the bottom as well, and then I would flex and stretch. And just like Faith said, it's the two sides of the same coin. You have to get the stretch, you have to get the flex. And also trying to find this for every muscle, not every exercise, but at least one flex exercise, one stretch exercise really helped me keep the physique that I have built despite the caloric deficit and the whole accumulated fatigue. And the post show was very, it was very interesting for me because I rebounded very fast, then I stalled, then I regressed, then I rebounded even more. So it was very funny to see, and I would see that with the way I train. So it's just like Faith said, it's like when you're a beginner and intermediate, you just move the weight. Just get the technique done. Just make sure you're doing properly. Just move the weight. But at some point, you have to stop and say, okay, I'm actually trying to work this muscle. I need to make sure that the muscle is actually working. So then, just like Geoffrey said, um, you cannot necessarily make it a, a a positive failure component. For example, for squat, like it's very hard to do like free weight squat and actually fail at the quad. But you need to have the intent to try and replicate this as much as you can. And you will not lift as heavy as you can. You will not be toying around with ultra heavy weight, and sometimes it's very, very hard to just not push it out and be extra powerful with your reps. But this is actually how you take a very good physique already to like a freaky physique, and then you get accused of steroid usage.
That's the ultimate goal for you natty guys. What about you, Basement?
Yeah, I mean, kind of in the you could say this is kind of in the same category as what we've all talked about so far, but there's kind of a couple different things here that I could briefly go into, but I'd say one big trend that I've noticed, and this is more of a not a specific current trend, but just more of a big picture thing, is that overall, like natural physiques, there's definitely better physiques now out there just because the pool is larger. There's more people lifting, there's more people into it than there were maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago. But when you look at the training from, say, around 2010 compared to now, and you compare the weight that we lift on various lifts now compared to back then, we're all lifting much more than we would have if we were the same person just time traveled 10, 15, 20 years ago. And back then, like like I remember back in the early 2010s, the 315 squat was kind of like the gold standard for a natural lifter, like a 315 squat. So it would be like a 275 bench, maybe a 405 deadlift, like those numbers that are impressive. But at this point where we've just really milked and wrung everything we can out of powerlifting, our sense of what's actually strong has gotten so far taken to the extreme that it almost requires us to degrade the technique that we lift with just to hit those numbers. So you could say maybe people care more about their numbers now, or maybe people just like powerlifting more. But I think it just goes to show that you can achieve the same physique that you have now lifting much more reasonable weights. You don't have to be like a freak in terms of strength just to reach a certain level of physique. Like I think Jeff's training, for example, would be totally normal and not just that would be the norm 10, 15 years ago for somebody his size versus now where everyone's like, oh, he should be deadlifting 800. But it's like people are still roughly that size 10, 15, 20 years ago as naturals, but they were just deadlifting normal weights like Jeff does. So I think that's one thing I've kind of noticed. You don't have to lift super heavy just because other people kind of can, and you don't want to just kind of cater your training to just hitting those numbers and doing whatever you need to do to hit them. You see this, obviously, Jonathan and the rest of you guys have a pretty good eye on for detail with technique, and you can see all these little ways people cheat to make movements easier. I would also say focusing on, just lifting with more control. So like we've kind of said already, more control in the concentrics to ensure that you're using maximum control. And I would also say not time under tension, but almost keeping constant tension in a good amount of lifts. So recently I made a video talking about basically three different categories of lifts. There's category one, which is your ultra stable, like it's impossible to mess this movement up. With those movements, you don't really have to worry about constant tension, time under tension, even mind muscle connection. I would say, like with a preacher curl, you're moving the weight from point A to point B. Just focus on effort. It doesn't really matter that much if you feel it or not because you can't really cheat the movement. There's also category two lifts where you have maybe a couple joints exposed to a lot of tension without a whole ton of stability. So maybe like a squat where you have room for your hips to take over and your technique can kind of fall apart. Movements like that, focusing on kind of constant tension, some mind muscle connection makes a lot of sense. So I think implementing that when necessary instead of just like strength maxing every single lift in the program, like a lot of people have over the past 5 or so years, makes a lot of sense. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to get you more gains, but you can get equal gains with much less fatigue. Or in the long term, just due to the compounding effect, you might actually get more gains in the long run. And at least you'll keep it more sustainable too.
Thanks. Um, you have such a good voice, Basement. Do people tell you that all the time? Like,
I've been getting chirped on my voice lately. I got a couple comments and people are like, this guy needs to learn how to add some bass to his voice, or he's like a frog or something. I'm like, what? Like, do I have like a bad mic or something? I don't
no,
know.
you have such a cool voice. I could just listen to you, just listen to you talk. I'm feeling like,
I've
um,
never heard that, but I appreciate it.
You have the
yeah,
voice of guys that are doing audiobooks.
yeah, exactly. Like you could do something with it,
Yep.
probably.
You could do faceless channel, basically. You could speak for 1 hour and we would listen to you.
I know. Then we missed out on that Mike Mincer stash and everything that goes with it. So, um, for technique wise, I'll answer this super quick. So something that I think I probably maybe have people doing wrong on accident. It was never my intent, but I'm real big on keeping your lower ribs exhaled, which that's pretty important to make sure that you get good joint function, direct tension where you want. But I think some people, when they're trying to stack the rib cage, they pull down too much. So I just want to like make sure people know like you need your sternum up. Like that'll have a big impact on things. If your sternum's up, you just want those lower ribs exhaled. That's something I've been really driving more on myself a little bit too. But especially like the more narrow kind of people, like that's something that can really help a lot. Just keep that sternum up a little bit, especially for chest type of stuff. But as far as like technique stuff, the biggest thing that I've changed that gave me the biggest gains, I've talked about a lot of different stuff, is probably biggest gains were on the leg stuff for quads specifically, just really focusing on trying to maintain more internal rotation as you're getting heavier and as you're getting deeper into the range of motion, unless you're going like really, really deep where you kind of do have to ER out. But thinking about the foot contacts is huge, making sure that you're not on the outside of your feet. Even if you just think about that, that'll take care of a lot. And then kind of what you were talking about, GVS too, just like your back, like not always being arched, not being in a late propulsion, being able to be what we call like an early propulsion representation where you've got like volume into your thorax, like just doing like curls from that position versus doing curls where you're kind of forward with your center of mass and arch your back. That changes a lot of things. So just being able to capture that, like for your squats, if you can start with that, that'll give you way more quad bias. So, yeah, I mean, I think I talk about technique all the time though. So I got a ton of stuff that can help. The biggest thing for me out of everything was when I stopped arching my back for legs and for my back. So let's go through some rapid fire stuff. We can answer these pretty quick. And again, if you guys have anything you want to add on to someone's point, just jump in. So before we do this, real quick, Herso, I wasn't gonna say anything, but you kind of brought it up. I was just curious. Do you want like I had a couple people say like random shit. You said you were on Reddit because you were a fake like Nazi. Do you know what this is about? I wasn't gonna say anything, but I had a couple people that like made comments and they were saying stuff I had no idea what the fuck they were talking about. But you were mentioning you were on there. Do you want to address this at all? I don't think it's a big deal at all, but
No, it's no big deal. It's just 2 years ago, there was some maniac that was like after me and a bunch of other people. And if you would not agree with them, they would just say a bunch of shit. And, even GVS has been accused for, he literally said nothing. So, yeah.
yeah, I mean, I had like it wasn't like only like two or three people like said something. And I'm like, look, like I deal with my interactions with people, and I figure if someone's bad enough to get canceled, like you'd be able to find some shit out about it. So like all I saw was just Reddit's just like just saying shit without saying shit. So not a big deal. I mean, we don't. I was just curious if you wanted to say something because you put it out there already. But so yeah, if anyone is curious, Herzl's not a Nazi. I don't know where that came from. You agree, Herzo, right?
Well, yeah, I have ancestors that fought them. So, I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
I,
All right, so for the two of you guys that like were worried and making those comments, like I think it's a non-issue, a non-thing. Um, so let's go through these questions super fast. Here's one that I'm curious about. So me and GVS, we're kind of doing some jumping stuff. Are you guys doing any plyometrics at all in your own programming, or do you program them at all?
Jumping ropes.
Yeah, you do some jump ropes. That's good.
So,
That's
so
old school. I fucking hate that. I mean, I'm assuming you're not doing any plyos basement, are you?
My ceilings are too low.
Have you started programming stuff in for people at all, GVS?
No, I get most people still mostly pure hypertrophy focused. Occasionally I'll get asked about it, but I don't know enough about it yet to really program it. Like I really want to run something for a long, long time before I'm like comfortable even putting out a video about it or programming it. So for me, it's pretty early days yet. I did hit a 51-inch box jump, which is pretty good, but not amazing. I mean, people have hit like 62 inches, and that's a big, big gap, right? You might think, oh, it's a few inches, you're progressing well, but it's like anything, you hit a wall and things slow down a lot. So, yeah, it's been fun, it's been enjoyable, it's definitely different, and yeah, I'll keep doing it. I tweaked my hamstring, so I've been staying away from it for a few weeks now, but I'll definitely keep it in. And it's one of those things where it doesn't actually take very much out of you, right? It's not particularly fatiguing, and if anything, it's kind of a nice start to a lower body day. So yeah, I've been enjoying it, and I'll probably keep it in. But in terms of programming, I'm still sort of experimenting with it. Oh wait, am I allowed to say experiment? Am I allowed to say experiment? We're not
you have
allowed
a
to say
study
that.
to back that up?
Yeah, unless there's 50 people or like six for a typical study. You're not allowed to say experiment. I'm working on things. There we go. I'm figuring shit out. There we go. That's what I'm supposed to say.
With all your training that you've done over the years, Faz, you weren't was there ever a time you were doing plyos?
Yeah, yeah. 2017, 18. I had a run where I was doing plyos. I got involved in this gym, which was kind of a CrossFit e-gym. Um, didn't really enjoy it, to be honest. Not really my thing.
Yeah, no,
Like,
it's not a bodybuilding thing. I do think one thing that bodybuilders would benefit from is these deep yielding ones where even if you're like in a squat, you don't necessarily even jump all the way. You're just kind of coming up halfway and absorbing that, or like the lunges where you're, because a lot of that will teach that connective tissue to give you a little more give. Like a lot of like the thing is bodybuilders, we don't need to be so stiff, right? Powerlifters need the stiffness. Bodybuilders, that stiffness kind of takes away from local tension. So I think that's one thing that bodybuilders could benefit from. They don't necessarily got to do all the crazy shit, but what about what about some hacks for people that are limited on time and freedom? Let's start with you, Faz, because I feel like you've got some good ones.
yeah, so I don't think you need much, training to get a reasonable physique. I think to get super advanced, you've got to do a fair bit more. But um, my first routine that I ever did, and I gained pretty well during that first year, I ended up with about a 200-pound bench, like 350 squat, 400 deadlift, was essentially just an upper lower training 3 times a week, just alternating. So upper lower upper, then lower upper lower. My workouts are super simple. Upper was dip chin overhead press, and the other one was bench row and overhead press, like real simple stuff. Lower bodies was a leg press, a deadlift, and some calf raises, and the other lower body was a squat, a rack pull, and some abs. That's literally it. 3 exercises, I think 2 sets each. And if I wanted to treat myself, I'd do some arm work or some side races. This was when I was 17 years old. But all of my effort was just on those exercises. And the sacrifice, the trade-off is you just got to work really hard. So that was my first year, and I bulked up a hell of a lot because I'd cut down 50 pounds or so the previous year. So I had a good runway to bulk. Started that was January the 1st, basically. Me and my brother decided that we were going to go to the gym. That was that first 9 months of training where I ended up with those numbers towards the end, quite a lot bigger. And that's when I did my first powerlifting meet. So yeah, that you don't need much. And yeah, I got strong, but I think you guys are more interested in the hypertrophy side of things. I got pretty big too. I was probably the biggest 18-year-old around here. I live in a very small city. So yeah, you don't need much.
Herso, I'm gonna frame this just slightly different for you because I'm curious. I mean, this is your life, man. You're a pro now. Like, I think the question is more for like normal people, right? Like, how do they do with their busy life? How do they just like make somewhat gains? For you, I'm curious. Like, let's say you have somebody who's got like a full-time job, but they're trying to make this their thing. They're trying to be competitive. They're trying to be serious. Like, what are some hacks for them that you think can help potentially to give them a chance to succeed?
I guess just like Faze said, it's like it's a balance, and the work needs to stay the priority, and it's what I've been doing for years. So, even if I'm pro now, obviously I know because I've had to done it, but you have to find time, and it can depend of your schedule, it can depend of your limitation, your logistic, etc. But just having a gym that is near your place or near your workplace
Mm.
and committing, just committing to it. It does not need to be the best gym. It does not need to have the best equipment, but just you actively going there multiple times per week and getting the basics in. Because as for many things, there is the Pareto principle, and if you do 20%, you get 80% of the result. So just like Faith said, upper lower, very easily. You do your horizontal pressing, you do your vertical pressing, you do your pull, you do a deadlift, your squat. You make sure to progressively overload them. You make sure to actually uh, target whatever you have to do. If you have a construction job or a manual labor job, you need to be quite mindful of the spine and the knee recovery because they're going to get basically beat up every day. So you do not have the same room and the same margin of errors than someone who is like doing a desk job, for example, um, or at least someone that is not like using his back and his hips all day, every day. And then it's also about the time frame. Would it be better for you to do every day 30 minutes, or would it be better for you to do just 3 days a week, but then you have an hour and a half or something like that? When I was working basically 60 hours per week, I was doing 45 hours at a job and then 15 at another. I was doing 3 times per week full body. Each full body would be 2 hour, 2 hour and a half. And on Saturday, because I was doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday, on Saturday I was doing HIIT and just basically walking. And it was 1 hour max. So it was just 7 hour top of lifting per week. And it was plenty enough for me at the time. And I'm pretty sure now, looking back at it, that I could have even do 6 hours and it would have been all the same. And even then, it's because I already was into the fitness. I was already a model. I was already a personal trainer. If I was just someone who wanted a good physique, a decent physique, but just, maintaining or fine-tuning stuff, you can cut that time in half. You can just do 1 hour, 3 times per week, as long as the basics are respected and as long as you're doing what works, this is going to work. The main thing I think for people that are working like normal job, it's the lunchtime. Uh, it's very easy, at least in France, to go to restaurant or to just order takeout or just take a sandwich and be done with it. And I'm pretty sure that here having your lunch prep pays dividend down the line with your recovery, how you feel, your digestion, your energy level throughout the day, than just taking a little club sandwich or going to the restaurant or even worse, the fast food.
What about your GVS? Do you have any hacks that you give to your people that are kind of limited? Do you like supersets and stuff? Anything different with
I
training?
I do very regularly program supersets, but I also tell people that only if you can.
Yeah.
So I've had people where, okay, we have some kind of row supersetted with some kind of push, but if what they want to do is taken, they like have to wait 10 minutes or something. It's like, no, just if you need to do all the pushes first, then all the rows, or vice versa, that's fine. You can also, let's say you have 3 sets of each. If you finish one early, you can move on to the next movement for that one, right? So let's say you have vertical pull, antagonist supersetted, not even necessarily supersetted. Usually when I see superset, like take your time in between, refocus. There's no rush. It's just sort of more alternated than anything. Let's say you have a pull and then a push and then a row and then a press or something like that. If you finish one of them early for whatever reason, maybe you didn't have to warm up as much, you can move on to the next one and basically just you have a certain amount of work, try to get in that work, right? So if something is open, hey, go for it, especially if it's a machine that you know is in high demand. I mean, if you have like, if you're doing a full body workout and you have Smith squats programmed a little bit later, but you see one open up and you know it's like it's your opportunity, you can move them up and that's totally fine. So I think exercise order is a fairly loose suggestion that you can move around and just view it as like you're going to be here for a certain amount of time, make the most of it and try to get in as much work as you can and have it be quality work. You don't have to be, especially if something requires a lot of setup, it might just not be worth doing. You see these setups where someone's like, "Oh, it's such an easy setup," and they have like, I know that I would not do it because of how much time it takes, and I work out in a fairly empty gym because I go at like 1 or 2 p.m. And so if I am too lazy to set it up, I mean, it's just not really a viable exercise for the vast majority of people. So making it realistic, making it convenient, and then I think for a lot of people, and this is something maybe we take for granted because it's our thing, just showing up. Just showing up. If you have to do one freaking set per exercise, that's way better than skipping a workout. So just like go in. I mean, sometimes I tell people like just go in and like hit a 2 hour set, and then I know like they're gonna once they're there, they're gonna like actually train hard. But like just show up and warm up, and then see how you feel, and you don't necessarily need to be pushing work. If you have to push a workout back as well, again, zoom out. It's about the work that you're doing across a week and a month and a year, so you can be flexible there too. But if you don't have a good reason to miss a workout, don't miss a workout because that's just a bad habit to get into.
What about you, Basement?
Yeah, so to kind of build off what Jeff said at the end there, it's like when you well, especially when you're busy and you're stressed, it can be daunting to pull up your spreadsheet and see six different exercises, 3 sets each. Like it looks like a lot, but if you just show up, it forces you to take it one set at a time. Like you can't do multiple sets at once, so it forces you to live in the moment. And when you're lifting heavy and training hard, you're actually not thinking about anything else really. Like if you're doing a bench press and you have 2 reps left in the tank, you're probably not thinking about your finances or your family. You're thinking about getting the bar off your chest. So it can be a little bit meditative in that way. So I would say showing up forces you to break out of that kind of like mindset where the lift seems very daunting and you take it one set at a time and you get into a flow state, which I find is quite nice, which you can't really get into just kind of pondering about the session. I would also say that just convenience in terms of setup is key. Another kind of daunting thing about lifting that can almost kind of give you some friction mentally, I would say, is just the pain of setting up certain lifts. It when we go into the gym, we almost want to feel hardcore. We don't want to seem like kind of soft or whatever. But when you really step back and think about it, for me, it's like I was thinking about unloading the dishwasher. I'm like, one of my least favorite things to do. I hate it. I can't stand it. It's such an annoying task to do. And I was like, you know what? Would I rather unload the dishwasher or load 405 on the deadlift bar? Well, I'd probably rather unload the dishwasher. Doesn't sound nearly as annoying as loading up 405 on a deadlift bar. And then I thought about how often I'm just loading plates onto a bar and moving weights around and how many like super annoying chores that build up in my brain subconsciously that I just completely tune out during the section. It's like you can ignore that stuff all you want, but it starts to build up and you start to almost resent going into that session. You start to dread doing deadlifts because it takes forever. And to kind of wrap up this point that I'm blabbling on about a little bit, I would say finding easy lifts to set up. So selectorized machines, cables, and bodyweight stuff and dumbbells, you can get a whole ton of good stimulus in with that. Easy to superset because you can bring one piece of equipment over to another, and it works really well. So that's good for keeping it kind of low friction mentally and very practical and convenient and efficient physically, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. That's funny because you don't think about that stuff a lot because like you said, this is like our shit. This is what we do. But I do think a lot of people have that kind of mentality going in where it's just like, just got. I mean, really, the bare minimum is the bare minimum, and it's not that crazy to do. But I think that supersetting is really great. Like we were talking about, I think if you can do your cardio like while you're going somewhere. I don't know if that's setup's good for everybody, but like where I live, I lived it was about a 15, it was actually about like a 12-minute bike ride from my work. And so it was like a 4-minute drive and a 12-minute bike ride. So it's going to take me 8 extra minutes. Actually, it was probably about 6 extra minutes to get 12 minutes of cardio in. And so like I would do that back and forth, and I was gonna have to do that anyway. And that was like the best shape I ever got in, just riding my bike back and forth to work. So, and then I think like just have some straps, like a TRX or a ring at home, like something that's easy. Where worst case, you can go in there, you can do triceps, biceps, you can do some pulls, you can do press, you can do a single leg back lunge, and you can just get shit going. So you don't have like any kind of excuse. And then, yeah, I mean, it's like you guys said, it's really not that crazy for to like maintain something decent or even to build up a little bit if you don't have a lot going on. Like 3 days a week is you can build up a lot. If you haven't been doing shit 3 days, you can build a fucking wild physique. And then for me, I've been able to maintain on like a shitty 3 day a week routine right now. So yeah, you don't have like it's crazy because like get that little extra, you have to put in so much extra work, but to like get just good, it's really not that crazy. I feel like.
Yeah,
Um,
And
we
even
just
like what? Oh, you go fast.
I just want to add one thing with regards to because we've all mentioned like lowering the volume a little bit or maybe finding easier options. One thing I will say is the key to making lower volumes work is to make sure that you're going into the session fully, well, as rested as you can. Because if you're not, if you're stressed out because the kids aren't behaving, you're staying up way too late because you worked all day and you want to have some freedom time, but that's cutting into your sleep for your session the next day, kind of like revenge gaming or whatever. Your wife's stressing you out, your day's just a mess. And that's why you're reducing the volume. You're not going to have a great session. So yeah, it's great to lower the volume, but the other side of this is you may be the problem here. Like just to speak very real and very kind of coach-like for a second, you may need to just stop living like a fucking child and be an adult, sort your life out so that you are less stressed, deal with a few things that need dealing with in your personal life, in your work life or whatever it is, so that you can go into sessions, even if they're 2 sessions a week, and you're able to exert the type of effort which is going to cause you to have gains. Like we're talking about lower volume sessions. HIT as a whole will work if you are able to exert the type of intensity to make those sets worthwhile. So part of the conversation, I think, with guys who are time poor is maybe look at prioritizing some of the basics of just taking care of yourself, making sure you're getting a reasonable night's sleep, you're prepping some food, so you're eating some decent meals, you're trying to minimize stress. That in and of itself may well help you get the most out of your training. Because if you turn up to the gym tired, stressed, sleepy, it's not going to be a good session, even if you've got an abbreviated routine. Like you're going in and you're doing something, it's great. You know, the government recommendations and guidelines are there for a reason. But if you're talking about making gains, I think you've got to try and get into the right state of mind. Don't turn up to your workout underslept, dehydrated, and stressed. Go in as good as your life allows you to be.
and don't make excuses for it either. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so toxic. If a training partner of mine turns up and they'll say, "Oh, I'm so tired," and they consistently do it. You guys know people like that. I just tell them to go home. I don't want that negativity in my life. I'm there to have a good session, you know. So
True.
What was that basement?
I didn't say anything.
Weren't you? Were you trying to say something? Who was that? Whenever Faz was.
Oh yeah, yeah. Before, long gone, long gone.
Yeah, I do think people that are really busy, it's easy to lie to yourself and be like, it's impossible for me not to be
right.
really busy, especially when you've got kids and obligations. But yeah, there's always a will, there's always a way. You can find somebody who fucking did it at a, like crazy high dedication level with what they've got going on. So we'll go through one more. We can answer this one pretty quick. I was curious about this one. Let's pick this. So, reverse dieting after a cut. How do you guys approach that? Let's flip it up. Let's start with you, Herso, since you just got done with, a pretty big cut. What's your take on reverse dieting? How do you get out of it?
I think my cut is a bad example to take, but I'm still going to answer. I'm going to answer the theoretical aspect or what is supposed to be good, and then I'm going to say what I did. When you're doing a reverse cut, most of the time you just did a fat loss or at least a pretty long deficit, sustainable at that. So you need to recharge, and it's a way to rebound while keeping a pretty good shape and reboosting your metabolism, your energy level, your result into the gym, and also ge- getting some flexibility basically. So when you have a D day like a show, for example, this reverse dating phase that could be a few days or even just one meal, like a refeed, they have to be calculated. If you just want to maintain a certain shape or you just want to cut, and along the way you realize that you may need these periods, it can be a few days, it can be even up to 2 weeks easily. You just basically have to, I guess, get back around maintenance and get as much carb as you can during the day and keeping the fat minimum while staying healthy and the protein around this 1 gram per pound, so 2.2 gram per kilogram, and the rest is carb. That's the theoric aspect. Then, depending of people, depending of how much you need to eat, of course, you have to adjust. My experience with it, with different people I trained and I coach, is exactly what I just said. So at some point, you just realize they need this boost. You give it to them. You assess on every day. You take pictures. You ask them how they are. If they have a thermometer, you ask for the body temp because it's highly correlated to the metabolism, and you take pictures and you see how they look. And the more lean but actually full they look, the better. And then at some point there is a diminishing return, and you know that you have done your job. And then you have to slowly but surely get back to the caloric deficit. As for my prep, I think it's a bit different, or because I was so extreme, I had to also be extreme with the refeed. I basically uh, in like 5, 6 days, I went from 2000 kilocalories at the end of a cut back to already 3.5, even 4. And I don't know where the food was going, but I was not going to the toilet and I was not getting fat. So I have no idea where it went, but I would just get bigger and bigger and bigger while staying as lean or almost as lean as I was. And it went like that for 2 weeks and a half, 3 weeks. And then I started to blur out a little bit, and then you could see, on the glutes and on the quads and the hamstring, yeah, there is a bit of fat here, and on the obliques as well. But like for 2 weeks and a half, I don't know. I don't know what happened. The food went somewhere. I don't know where. In the back room, maybe. But yeah, so I don't think it's a good example. And I think it's really specifically because I did a prep.
Yeah, it's very different being on stage. Like that's the only time I've reversed. Like for me, cutting is I'm getting to stage lean, so we can be a little more aggressive with our refeeds. I feel like 'cause we're just sucking that shit up. Where most people, if they're cut, they're ending at like at 8%. Like that's a lot different than 8 or 9% than being on stage.
Yeah.
What about you, GVS?
Yeah, so I actually have my whole weight of my 11 years of lifting charted out. Some previous years I wasn't doing daily morning weigh-ins, so there's like a long line where I just wasn't weighing in for months and months. But over the past few years, I've basically been doing daily morning weigh-ins. And for a lot of my previous cuts, it's like down, 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 boom, and just this big bounce out of that bottom position from when the cut is done. And I've done better this time, I would say. Well, the cut's not over, but I maintained a pretty lean physique, maybe 11, 12, 13% for several months. And that was the first time that I've maintained that because usually it would be like dieting to get down there, kind of just making room for the bulk. But the rebound was so sharp each time that I'm not even sure if it was making room for the bulk because it was like so quickly out of that bottom position, right? It was, and so I would say I'm not that good at this, but I'm getting better. And from what I've heard, it is fairly individual. I know some people where they can refeed and just like Hersovyac said, I don't know where it goes. Like they're eating more and more and more. They're not gaining weight, and it's going out into the ether. I've heard so many stories of this, and then other people they gain 50 pounds in a month or something. It's so this is very individual, and I would say this is maybe the most individual metabolitic moment possible, where you're either primed to burn it off or to gain fat or potentially to gain muscle, according to some people. And I would say this is where experience is the most important thing, just because everyone does seem to react quite differently. And a good example would be the Team 3D guys. You look at Eric Helms or Dr. Eric Helms, sorry, and Alberto Nunez. if you follow both of their progress and look at sort of how their body weights change and the amount of calories that they consume, they are vastly different. Like Alberto Nunez is eating more calories than you might think at his given weight and activity level. And then Dr. Helms, he has to bring his calories down really low and he's still putting in tons of work at the gym and he's still somewhat active. And so, yeah, this is super individual. And this is where I think counting calories is beneficial. And it's something that I haven't done for many years, but I do think having that information can be quite useful.
What were you going to add, Faz?
I was just going to ask Jeffrey, when you say you rebound out, what, just for my own interest, what sort of percentage of your body weight are you rebounding?
Oh man, I would say, I mean, easily a pound a week,
Hmm.
I would say. And it slows down at a certain point. Like there's a point where your appetite kind of gets back in check, and it's been better each time it's happened. But yeah, especially right after the cut, I think I was 86. I can
Hmm.
actually just check. Oh, no, I think I remember. At the end of the 2023 cut, I finished at 86.8 as
Hmm.
my lowest. And I mean, within a month, I was over 90 easily. And then a
Jeez,
month after that, I was 93, 94, 95.
you
So
see,
yeah,
for me,
fast.
that tracks. I think that's a good way to do things. I don't think that's something you should change. For
Yeah.
me, I'm looking at gaining. If you cut really deep, which you did, you got absolutely peeled.
Yeah.
I think 10% of your body weight over the course of 4 to 6 weeks is is good. Like you want that. Otherwise, you're not going to feel normal. And for me, when I ended my cut at 74 kilos and got up to 80, 80 is where I felt normal. That's the real beginning of the bulk. That initial period, that 10% is just recovery. So I don't think you need to change. I really don't. Um,
I think a lot of it, I think a lot of it was hearing like Lane Norton, because the reverse diet, the original reverse diet was like, you're still in a deficit. Ha ha. You thought you could eat. You still can't eat. Your calories are going even lower, bitch. Ha ha ha.
sucker.
That kind of stuff. Yeah. And so I think the recovery diet is a lot more suitable. And I would say the only time I've had body dysmorphia was during that time. Because you go from shredded and then you
Mm,
gain a few kilos
mm.
and now you're not shredded. And you would have been happy with that on the way down.
Yeah.
But now you're blurry and things are changing super quickly and you're not super happy with the way things are going, but you kind of know you can't maintain that really shredded look. And so you want to hold on to it and but you don't know how fast you should go. And yeah, so I think it ended up fairly well. And I think each time you do it, recovery is a little bit faster. Um, but yeah, I wasn't too unhappy with things, but there is a lot of information out there where it says that, oh, blah, 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 rate is too fast. But yeah, in hindsight, maybe it was what I needed.
I definitely think it's what you need. I've spoke to a lot of UK coaches and pretty much everyone seems to agree on guys who prep a lot of clients when you're getting really cut. That 10% body weight, you want to regain that pretty quickly and then you'll feel normal. That added 10% is pretty much where I've hung out for the majority of the last year, feeling quote unquote normal. Anything below that, that's it. Libido starts to go, energy starts to go. I'm right on that cusp, and that's kind of like my compromise at the moment. But really, for me, 80 kilos is where I start the bulk to get up to 90, 100 kilos, whatever. I don't think you need to do anything different at all. I think 10% is very, very normal over maybe 4 weeks. So same with what Herso said. From all my experience prepping people, I've been prepping people for since 2015, and from coaches that I speak to around here, trust me, guys, it's very, very normal.
All right.
I don't know if you've been lean enough to give input, basement. Did you? What do you think?
No, not quite, but I wouldn't say my experience with getting down to 11, 12, 13% was anything too outside of what these guys are talking about. I would say, yeah, c coming out of a cut, what I typically like to do, and obviously like I do mini cuts here and there, and then I have a bunch of clients that are doing usually mini cuts, sometimes some more moderate cuts, or bigger if they're above 20, 25% body fat, obviously. But even then they're not getting super lean typically. I would say taking a little bit of time after a mini or moderate cut to just let your appetite reset and to kind of allow your body to kind of refill out a little bit helps a lot. It also gives you a very good idea of what your true end weight was with the cut, because obviously when you typically the way I would end it is we have a target weight if we can maintain that body weight for an average of 3, 4, maybe 5 days, depending on the situation. From there, go back to maintenance. Whatever, depending on how much weight you lost, either go back to what your maintenance was before, or use the same calculator and just if you lost 25 pounds, your maintenance might be a little bit lower. Go back to that maintenance. Let things refill out and just see where your weight ends up after 5 to 7 days of that. And then just psychologically, it's nice to let your appetite reset. From there, you just have a good baseline for where you're actually going to bulk back up from. Um, there's a lot of guys, I'd say like the rookie mistake is thinking that your end weight with the cut is like your true end weight. So if you go from like 187 to 172, that's probably more like a 175 or 176 when you're actually filled out again. It's not quite a true like 172, for example. So letting yourself refill out at maintenance, very nice mentally to know it's not fat being gained. And then from there you can gain maybe 2, 3 pounds that first month, and then figure things out from there on the pace that you want to go on.
Nice. Yeah. Fuck. Appreciate it, guys. You guys got anything going on for New Year's? Anybody do anything fun? They do some crazy shit in China, don't they? You're not gonna go see some of these insane, like spectacular fireworks shows or something?
They save it for mostly Chinese New Year.
Oh,
I,
that's
I
right.
think they they don't want to make like the normal New Year too big of a deal, right? You can't have the normal New Year, the
The shit just shut
Western New
down
Year.
for you during that week, or what?
What's that?
The shit just shut down there that week?
Chinese New Year stuff will, I mean, I go back to my wife's hometown, so it's like sort of my big training break kind of for the year. But I've been in Shenzhen a few times, and because it's like a migrant city where a lot of people come here, everyone leaves during Chinese New Year, and so it is
Weird.
wild. Tons of businesses close. It's like a ghost city. Gyms close as well. I remember when I was in 2016, my gym closed, and I was so angry. I was like banging on the door.
The fuck?
Nowadays I would have been like, oh well, guess I'll do a ring training phase or something. Back then, you'll never forget like that so much enthusiasm in your first year or two of training,
Oh yeah.
and so yeah, it hollows out quite a bit here.
Anybody else? You guys do anything? Nothing fun? Nah, we're
Hanging
all
out with
fucking
family,
boring.
going to bed at 9.
Yeah, I know. That's pretty much the fitness influencer life, I think. It's like, yeah, I'll be in bed by 10 for sure. But man, I really appreciate you guys' time. I know we got 5 different time zones. We're able to make it work. Is there anything out there? Anything you guys want to put out there at all before I let you go?
No,
Good.
just thank you for hosting us, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Thanks for the invite. Really appreciate it. And
Yeah.
obviously, GVS and Landon spoke to you guys before. Herso's first time speaking to, so nice to kind of virtually meet you.
Yeah,
Same
I
as well,
mean,
face.
I think I got the collection. Who else do I just need to get what Leonidas on here, and then like I pretty much got all you natty guys in one place right now.
Natural hypertrophy. You got to resurrect NH.
I'll
Yeah.
try. I'll try my
Go-
best, but I have to go on a journey, with my backpack, in my little powders and stuff. I'll have to find him,
That's funny. Maybe someone will send him this, but awesome. I appreciate your time, guys. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
It was a
All
pleasure,
right.
Yeah,
Jonathan. Thank you so
it was
much.
fun.
All right. Have a good New Year's, guys.
Thank
You
you.
too.
You too. Enjoy.
Take care.